Something's wrong, I feel it circling like vultures around my brain. Couldn't see the danger in your eyes. Draw me in, got me spinning now like water to a drain. You were perfect till I realized you hadn't shown your face. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along, a siren serenade. You're ringing out your praise. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. I was deaf to the ringing bells, wanting me to break, deafened by the sirens' soothing lies. I can't leave, I am in too deep, been sinking for a while, prisoner to the same thing I despise, devoted to a fake. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along, a siren serenade. You're ringing out your praise. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along, a siren serenade. You're ringing out your praise. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory.
Good evening, all. Welcome to the Midweek Mixer podcast. We are returned again after a week off. We're back once more, and we have a lot of topics to talk about and a lot to get into. It hasn't been the best of week for gaming in certain respects, mainly the polish of certain games, which we will get into in its entirety. That goes for first party and third party, actually, because some things haven't been called out where they should have been, and some things have been called out, and rightfully so. But before we get into any of that, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to my awesome panel here. First and foremost, Shom, how are you doing, sir? What you been up to? What you been playing?
I'm good. Just I'm working a lot. Like I went on holiday about 4 weeks ago, and since I came back from my holiday, I was in for 7 days, off for 1, in for 2, off for 1, in for 5, off for 2, in for 7.
Jesus Christ.
I think somebody doesn't like me. I don't know because I'm getting all the crap shifts. But I've been playing a few games, not too much. But I actually platinumed Spider-Man the other day. My first ever platinum.
Nice.
So that was fun. It's an alright game. I don't see why it gets
Yeah.
flawed it does.
Was that the first Spider-Man? Was that Spider-Man or Miles
2018.
Morales?
2018. Like, it's a fun game. I enjoyed it, but it's kind of like it is prototype with a Spider-Man skin. I was having this argument, well, not an argument, discussion
Could
with
say
my
the
mate at
same for
work.
Prototype though, considering back in the day, Activision were making Spider-Man games, and then they made Prototype.
Yeah, true. It's more just the things that you do around the city outside of the actual story for it. Like it did my head in. It's like the only reason I got the platinum was because a little bit of OCD. I was so close, I might as well go for it. And I spent hours just swinging around the city doing the same 3 or 4 stopping crime things for each faction, and it was
That is definitely the
boring.
tedious part about that game.
It's like why is that even in there? And then you've got to go do the drone things and the stealth things.
Yeah.
And Prototype is like not exactly the same, but very very similar. But with like stopping the crime thing, I'm pretty sure Prototype has that. But again, it's an alright game, but it has convinced me to not bother getting Spider-Man 2 at launch. Just hold off till it's discounted, because unless it's completely different, unless the reviews come out and it's really changed the format, then I'll be interested.
Yeah.
So I've done that. I have played a bit of the what's it called? The Last Case of
Benedict Fox. Yes.
Yeah.
What's your
it's
thoughts
very
on that then?
Metroidvania. I quite liked it. I've only got into the point where I killed the first boss.
Yeah.
Whatever that weird thing with the 2 hands and like the fish. I've killed that, and I'm about 5-10 minutes past that. But I didn't know going into it what kind of game it was. I didn't realize it's more like a Metrovania-esque type game, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I believe so.
So I'm actually quite enjoying that. And then thingy came out, Redfall. So we'll talk about Redfall later. Oh yeah, and I got Dead Island 2 for my PS5.
Nice. Was that game share, or was that just yourself?
I bought that. The only reason I got it for the PS5 was because I knew a few friends that had it on the PS5 that were going to get it for the PS5 that I wanted to play with. So I decided to go to the PS5 just to play with them. And I didn't know actually how many people on the Xbox were going to be playing it. So
yeah,
I decided to go where I definitely had mates that I would be playing with. That's a fun game. That is a fun game. It does get a little bit samey.
Yeah.
But so did the first one. So I kind of know what I'm walking into, but it is fun. It is just smashing people up. It's good.
And it launched with barely any issues, which is
I had a couple. I didn't get to restart my game 1 or 2 times when it was in co-op. It was just like stupid stuff, like the T position that the NPCs do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the old T pose.
Yeah, I had a couple of them, and it's just.
I had one of them. Yeah.
So we just backed out, shut the game down, jumped back in, and it was fine. So yeah, I've done more gaming than I actually thought then. But yeah, that's been my gaming.
Always tends to be the case when you think back at it. You're like, oh wait a minute, actually I did play. Quite a bit.
I played 1 or 2 games, and he recount, and that's probably just the 4 that I remember. And there's been a couple. Oh no, I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with my older brother because he's back from his cruise ship work. So we went through the the new arcade one.
Yeah, the Cowabunga thing.
No, the one that's the throwback to the arcade.
Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
Brilliant, that one. Don't play the other one. The other one's garbage.
No, I didn't guess that.
A question for all you chaps who have played Dead Island 2. Does it have matchmaking for co-op?
No, I don't think it. I couldn't
it might
find
have, but don't quote me on that. I haven't tried it. If there is matchmaking.
You can see your friends, so you can see anyone on your friends list, and if they're playing it, and you can click on them and say join game if it's open, or request to join, or if they blocked it completely, there's no option. But as far as I could tell, there was no way to just search for people.
Apparently there is.
Is there? Right. Okay.
Yeah. To host a Dead Island 2 multiplayer session, you can set up immediately from the main menu by choosing continue game and then setting the game type to one of the following public. Anyone can join your game. Yeah, by matchmaking.
Okay.
It's not bad.
So, yes.
I still don't understand how they're joining, though, if they can't.
I think you just search. I think you might just be able to search for a game.
Must be. Must be. So I apologise. But yeah, I couldn't figure that out. We were trying to figure out if we could get a couple more people in. Like,
maybe it was just too early and not many people are on.
Maybe.
But next up, Mick. How you been, sir? What you been up to? What you been playing?
Well, apart from thinking I'd almost broke my toe about 5 minutes before this show, yeah, it's been good. I've been playing some Star Wars. I know Jen's had issues. He ended up taking his back or getting his refund.
We talked about that in depth at the weekend.
I know. We'll go more into this later, I'm sure. But I've had a few issues, but nothing too bad. Just a few frame rate issues. But that might be just. I don't know what you're playing on, Jen, but I've got the OLED with, and everything, the BRR and everything. So
yeah, my TV's got all those singing and dancing features that you should have for those consoles.
Yeah. It's just not. It's not been enough to make me want to stop. I've had a few moments where the game has been a bit weird, and I've had to turn it off and start it again. But
yeah,
that's about it. We'll talk about that later. Dead Island, same as Sean as well. Been playing that with Chris. Yeah, enjoy it. It's nice. It's just what I wanted, really.
Just silly
just
fun.
Another Dead Island.
Yeah,
just another Dead Island. I didn't need it to change. I quite enjoyed the first two. Well, the first one and the spin-off. I didn't need anything more than that. So. I was quite happy with it.
And Revenator asks, are you playing 30 or 60 frames?
On Star Wars?
Yeah.
60 when I can get it. But yeah, 60. Like I say, it dips a bit in places, usually when it's busy, but it's better now it's had the update, definitely.
I've heard that.
But it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad for me.
Yeah.
So
Awesome stuff. Next up, the General C. How you been, sir? What you been up to? What you been playing?
Yeah, not bad. Played a bit of Redfall last night and did kind of go back on my word and try it out in 30 frames per second. Let me tell you, I'm not doing that again. Other than Redfall, I did get Star Wars when it came out. Didn't have it for long because I ended up refunding it because I had a load of problems that we did talk about in the weekend edition.
Yeah.
I'll briefly cover them later when we get to that. I was gifted Sons of the Forest on PC, which is in early access at the moment. And that's actually a hell of a lot of fun with friends. Like, it's a survival game. There's horror elements in it.
How's the NPC on that one that keeps breaking your buildings for no reason?
It's actually not too bad. I think they've probably smoothed out some of the issues because it's been out for a few weeks.
He was fun that way.
But he's definitely a goofy NPC to keep around. It's funny, like, because you can make him go collect logs of wood, and then like the game, if he puts the pieces of logs down on a hill, he'll drop those logs. They'll roll down the hill, and it'll be a constant cycle of him going back and up and down the hill, putting those logs back in the same spot for them to roll down, for him to go and get them again. So I've been chuckling at that. That's fucking hilarious. But yeah, it's just a fun little goofy game. I haven't had any performance issues with it. Again, I didn't get that when it first came out, but it is in early access, so I'm expecting to get some issues at some point.
Yeah.
But it plays really well for an early access game, which is surprising.
Yeah, in comparison to some in the past, like DayZ when it launched was terrible when it first came out, and if you have a look at
DayZ still is terrible.
Yeah, and Ark,
and that's been out for like 10
terrible.
years.
Yeah. But yeah, like you say, it's some of these do, but at least what you do know about these is that these are early access games, so you kind of expect them to be a lot of issues along the way, and
Yeah,
will
you
come into
know
them.
exactly what you're in for with an early access game. So like you only got yourself to blame if you buy it and you know full well there's going to be issues because it's early access. And like the load up screen even says for all early access games, this is an early access game. So yeah, you've got yourself to blame if you start complaining about issues then.
Yeah, you've pretty much signed the waiver when you bought the game. You know this is early access. Report the bugs. We'll fix them as we go.
That's pretty much it. I'll tell you, I did play a little bit of Eggs Benedict, whatever that game's called again.
Yes.
Eggs
Yeah.
Benedict.
Eggs Benedict. Yeah.
Not much. I did the first part of the tutorial, and then I just come off my Xbox. It was like in the night time, and I was just too tired to focus on it. So I need to actually give that a proper try.
Yeah.
Which I'll probably do this weekend.
Yeah. Sweet. We'll definitely have to get your thoughts on that when you've played it as well. But yeah, so I haven't. What have I been playing? So I've been playing a lot of Jedi because thankfully my Jedi is working okay. Mine works fine. I'm playing Jedi at 30 though, and I'm happy with it at 30. Primarily because, and I've mentioned this before, unless it's a first-person shooter, or unless it's a sim racer or something like that, or a fighting game where 60 frames is required, I don't get issues with motion with my sight and things. I don't get nauseous or have headaches because of 30 frames like I know some people do.
Yeah,
They're the only games I'm really bothered about.
Is bad.
Yeah, it's the only games I'm really bothered about being in 60 are competitive style games, or first person shooters. Outside of that, I don't like action adventure games, God of War, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, whatever it is. I'll always go for quality mode because I want to see them shine. It's offline, it's single player, I can chill out. Same with Star Wars, so I'm in quality mode on that, and that's been pretty smooth. I haven't played it since a patch, but it was smooth for me before it. So, couple of little things, but nothing game breaking. I haven't had anything where you rest at a rest point and it breaks or crashes. I haven't had none of that. Had minor stuttering issues entering levels, but outside of that, the actual gameplay throughout the level's been fine. But yes, we're gonna dive straight into it. We're gonna dive straight into the old REDFALL because we have been playing that, and I've been playing it on both PC at epic settings, and I've been playing it on the Xbox in co-op with Boxenberger. So for the purpose of talking about this game, we're going to transition over to some beautiful gameplay, and by beautiful I mean terrible but beautiful. It's so enjoy it. Yeah, so this is first section, and it is detailed at the top. PC recording, RTX 3060 on epic settings. So, and I don't play it, especially these games, I don't play it with the difficulty cranked up. I've got it on like the easiest difficulty just to play the game. I don't really care. I'm not in there for a long time. So, and I don't plan on making it harder than it will be because of all the crap. So, easier settings, make sure the gameplay details are cranked all the way up and have fun.
I will say though, even on normal settings, the AI ain't that much smarter.
No.
They're dumb. They're proper dumb.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. But yes, I want to get into our thoughts first of all on REDFALL. The gameplay, the AI. We're going to go in depth on this one because we've had enough time, all of us, at least several hours in the game to be able to kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work, what needs improving, what should have happened to the game. Is it worth picking up? Is it not worth picking up? Is it worth waiting on? We're going to dive into it, so we'll get our thoughts. First of all, Shom, out of the lot of us, you've put a good chunk in. You've got about 17 hours, so I think out of all of us, you've probably got the most time invested in it so far. I want to hear your rundown of your impressions of the game, the good points and your bad points. What do you think of REDFALL?
Okay, so I've gotten like I said, a fair amount into it. Oh, that whole 17 hours, 59 minutes, and 33 seconds. I just checked.
To be
So-
precise.
Just to be precise, and that is over single player and co-op.
Yeah.
I'm into the second area now. So those of you who don't know, it's as far as I'm aware, it's two areas, unless there's another area that I'm unaware of. But looking at the achievement list, it looks like there's your main area where you start, and then you go to another area that once you go there, you can't go back. So you have to make sure you do everything in downtown Redfall before you move to this new area.
Yeah.
And they've mixed things up in the new area. I won't go into details because I don't want to go into spoilers for people. But they've kind of changed some things up in that new area. So I seem to luck out on a lot of these games because I haven't really come across any major bugs or anything. In that time, I've had one crash where it's just booted me to dashboard, and I've had one like audio. It was like a weird audio and slight visual glitch, and that was the game directly after I got booted to dashboard. So I'd load up, I'd have the music, but I wouldn't have any ambient sound. The sound of my gun wasn't there. Just any other sound effect, basically. Just the music was there. Everything else was silent. And then when I'd scope in on using a sniper rifle, instead of going into full scope,
Yeah.
it would kind of go forward a bit and show me my sniper scope. But it was black in the middle, so I couldn't see anybody from that. And that happened to one of the other guys that was in the party. So yeah, this happened during the co-op. I haven't had any issues during the single player. So I have locked out because I have heard some people have had pretty bad times with being kicked a lot and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been lucky with that. With the actual gameplay, I'm enjoying it, to be honest with you. It's not a game that will go down in the annals of history as being a great game.
Yeah.
But I'd say I'd give it a 7.5 to 8 if I was feeling generous. No, probably a 7.5. I don't think it deserves an 8.
Yeah.
For me, it would be a 7.5, which is for me is kind of like that's a decent thing. It's it's what you see is what you get. There are some highlights to it. I think co-op is much better than single player.
Right.
But then the negative of that is only one person gets to progress, really.
Yeah.
Which we've covered before, haven't we? When it was first announced.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a bad design choice. I was saying with the guys that I was playing with, it's like I kind of get with the single player that you might with the campaign. Sorry, that you might want to limit that to the host only, because I might be on the second quest and then jump in with you, who's on the 5th quest. And there might be thinking issues with that. But the side quests, they're all individual, so why don't side quests log for everybody? That's what I don't get. There's no kind of you all know the how the single player, well, not single player, the actual main storyline goes. You go to your table, and then you've got you pick your thing, and then that branches off onto something else.
Yeah.
Do you all recall that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of get that not working, but with like your safe houses, they're all you do your safe house and then you kill the underboss. That's just one and done. There is no kind of thing. You do one quest, kill an underboss. Another area, one quest, kill an underboss. Why doesn't that carry over?
Yeah.
That's what I find really frustrating. So I enjoyed playing it in co-op, but I also was kind of like 5-6 levels ahead of everybody else. So for me, it was just kind of like, right, let's go here. Right, I know what to do. Let's do this. Let's do that. And because I'd only just done it, maybe it's because it was literally an hour or two ago that I'd done that, I was a little bit impatient.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, it's just like, right, helicopter crash, right, over here, you go to this cave, up here, right, let's get rid of this red mist, I know how to do that, right, let's run up the thing, let's kill these people, let's go to the helicopter, right, let's go to the other helicopter, let's go, it's just... But I think the characters work well together.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was my character is the Indian fella, the guy that does the teleporting.
Yeah, I know which character you're talking about. I've forgotten his name. Boxenberg, I was playing as him as well.
I reckon his ult is OP. Absolutely overpowered. He's the one that sticks down the UV beam and freezes it, or pulse thing and freezes.
Were you saying that Jacob though, the sniper, his ultimate's also overpowered? It's guaranteed headshots, one-shot kills.
That's the one I chose.
Yeah.
That's pretty OP. What I do is once you get, like, I've had it when I've been surrounded by 5 or 6 vampires and I've just put this bad boy down and then just gone slap, 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 slap. And then they've created enough energy for me to have my ult back again.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little thing. But yeah, for me, I was going to go with what everybody was, the girl with the lift thing. What's her name?
Layla.
Yeah, Layla. But I was like, you know what? I think that's what everybody's going to do. I'm just going to go something different. So I was a toss up between the character I chose and the one that got the robot. That was the toss up.
Okay.
But I'm really enjoying it. I think the story's good. It's got the classic arcane kind of different ways you can do things. I don't think stealth works well at all in it.
Yeah.
Whereas, I love Dishonored. They're some of my favorite games, and there is an achievement for going through the whole game without being spotted, without setting off an alert. So they've got quite a decent pedigree in the stealth genre, and they've kind of, like, when you first get to the to the fire station, it's like, oh, you can go in this way, you can pick the lock here, or you can go through full frontal assault, and it's just, at the end of the day, you end up killing everybody anyway. It seems just a little bit pointless. You might as well just go through the front door every single time, unless you just want to get a drop on one guy and then everybody else is alert. It just seems a little bit like they've tried to take that Dishonored DNA and kind of plop it into what they're doing here. And for me, it hasn't worked at all.
It would work if the AI was a little bit more intelligent. Well, a lot more intelligent.
I was going to get onto that. Is the AI is dumb as mud. It really, really is. It's that, and that's being nice about it. Their aim is well off. If you get surrounded by,
it's like standing in front of a bunch of stormtroopers, and I don't mean the ones from Jedi Survivor. I mean just like the actual, like, film stormtroopers that couldn't hit a barn door. That's what it's like.
Yeah, one or two aren't a problem. When they start ganging up on you, they can take you down pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you just pick them off one at a time. It's, I've died a few times, and it's normally through me being a little bit too cocky. You kind of like, I can take these on, but I haven't seen the other people around the corner that then pile around and absolutely destroy me. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's a lot of games is like you back off a little bit and they're like, oh, it was nothing, and then you just shoot in the head once they've kind of de-aggroed, and you can just keep doing that in bigger areas. Vampires are, depending on what your level in and what your setup's like, they can either be a right hassle or you can kill them relatively quick. As your standard vampires are not an issue for me. There's one or two that are a pain in the ass. I think it's called the Angler, that drags you to them.
Yeah, I remember that guy with the blood thing that comes at you. Is that the one?
No, that's a different one. That sucks your energy from afar. That one's dangerous. That can destroy you pretty quick.
Yeah.
The Angler is kind of like a floating redhead lady. And if she gets you, it's like I haven't figured out if you can stop once she's caught you, whether you can shoot her enough to make her drop you, but she takes off a decent amount of health. They've got a decent variety of what they call like special vampires, like your angler, like the I think they're reavers, I think, or something. There's one that blacks out everything around you, so you can't see
Yeah.
more than a couple of feet in front of you. So they have got a good kind of variety of thing, but I think I've met everybody now. I've got to the point where I now have to be careful with how many specials I kill because it'll summon the guy that the IGN person just could not figure out what to do. I mean, I swear he was holding his gun the wrong way, to be honest with you. But again, even him, I didn't really have much issue taking him down. I'm playing on just the default setting. I'm not playing on easier or
Yeah, you're
it's
just
just
on
the
standard
default.
difficulty.
Yeah. So I don't think there's much of a challenge in standard. I haven't gone up to hard, so maybe in hard it's gonna, you have to be a bit more pick and choosy about your battles, whereas I'm just sprinting across the fields, and if I get shot at, turn around, shoot them, carry on. Which does lead me on to another thing that people have complained about, is the place seems a little bit empty.
Yeah. On that, I definitely agree. There's literally
like if you head out the fire station, turn right, you can head down the road into a town. I think the first time I did it, I ran all the way down there and didn't come across anybody until like I was well through the town. And it's just like, I don't expect it to be, I never expected to be Left 4 Dead. I think those comparisons were dumb.
Yeah.
But I'd expect a bit more resistance of heading down through a town before even hearing my first vampire. So, the lack of real enemies a lot of the time, coupled with how stupid they are, it's a bit of a, I was about to say major negative. It's not a major negative, it's a bit of a negative. But I mean, all in all, I'm enjoying the game. I will complete it. I will consider going through with somebody who is waiting for the 4K for the 60 FPS patch. Because I've completed it. I don't mind running through with somebody because I don't care about my own progression. So I've heard that there's a new game plus as well, so you can take your character back into the game again,
right,
for another run through. But I don't really see the point, unless because it's like you just want to choose a different character. You wouldn't want to take your new game plus character to do the game again, unless you can select another character and have, say, 25, 30 upgrade points ready stacked up for you. It seems a little bit pointless. I'm going to be honest. So yeah, it's for me it's a miss in terms of what Arcane are capable of doing. Arcane is one of my favorite developers in the stealth genre, and I still have faith in them. I still think they're a quality thing. They've just messed up on this one. I think it's I can't remember the term of it. When you have too many ideas and you all try and get them in.
Yeah, that's
too many chefs in the kitchen.
It completely lacks direction.
There's a terminology for it in gaming where you just keep adding to something. I can't quite remember what it is. Boxy, is Boxy in the chat? You might remember if he's still there.
Oversaturated.
No, it's just when you kind of go, oh, and then we could do this.
We could do this.
And
we could add RPG elements, and we can add open world elements, and add co-op elements.
Yeah. And it's just, I think it's heavily suffered from that, and nobody's really been in there to rein him in and go, whoa, guys, because I think it'd get away with not being a co-op game. To be honest with you, I think it's
from what you're saying, it sounds like co-op was an afterthought.
It's either one or the other. It's either that it should have been just a co-op game or just a single player game. I don't think they've had to make compromises in order to accommodate both. Boxer, that term when in gaming where they're making a game and they keep adding on to it. So they go, oh, well, like the Dutch was just saying, we'll have an RPG element and then we'll have a co-op as well. We can stick on co-op, and then we'll have a looter shooter type element, and it just gets too much for them. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
There's a certain word for it, but I can't. Feature creep, that's it. Thank you, Painful. Feature creep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's suffered heavily from that, and I don't think it really has an identity. It doesn't really know what it's trying to do. It's got a good story. It's got an excellent, intriguing set of, well, not set of characters, but I want to go into the world. I want to find out what's going on, and the gameplay loop at the moment is still fun. It's beginning to wear a little thin with the go to this neighborhood, open a safe house, do the mission, get the underboss thing. That's because I'm on the second area and I've just done that 6 times. I now have to do it another 6 times. I'm at that point where it's like, it's getting a little bit. I wish I had my mates with me now because I just want somebody to chat to while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But it's what they wanted to do. Hopefully they can learn from a mistake. I would be happy if they did announce Redfall 2 and they actually learn heavily from what this is. I think it could be a decent franchise, but I'd also understand if they went, yeah, let's just put that in the box and stick it under the couch and never think about it again.
Bury it as deep as you can.
Yeah, let's stick it next to ET cartridges, shall we? So I'm not bothered either or. It's for me, if they don't go back to it, cool. If they do, I'd be interested. Like I said, it's a 7.5 game, which is completely fine for me.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about Dead Island, how fun that is. That's in its 7 somewhere.
Yeah.
I just think it's a missed opportunity. Again, another missed opportunity from, I'd like to say Microsoft or Xbox, but I'd say this is on Bethesda, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Microsoft have been fairly hands-off and kind of gone, right, go at it. So I don't think it's fair to blame this on Microsoft, but it's come at the wrong time for them with, I'm sure we'll discuss later in the show, the other stuff that's gone on. But yeah, I think it's another thing that's gone wrong, but I don't actually think this is their fault. I think that, you look at who they've got there, Pete Hines and stuff, who you should be kind of going, is this good to go? What? Let me have a go. No, we're not launching this. We're putting this on hold. I don't care if it's for another 6 months to a year. This needs some major work because it does.
Yeah.
It does feel slightly incomplete.
Yeah, completely. A quick shout out to Lord Metroid with his $2 super chat there, and he says Redfall is a horrendous mess. A $5 indie is better. To be fair, there's quite a few $5 indies that are in much better condition and are far more interesting. So on that, I can agree.
There's indie games out there made by one-people developers that are better than this.
To be fair, I disagree. I wouldn't say Redfall is a horrendous mess. I think it's a missed potential. I don't think it's a horrendous mess. It's still fun. It's definitely fun in co-op.
Yeah.
And there's like bugs that I've seen other people. I saw it. I think it was on Twitter. Somebody showing that in the area I've just got to in the first safe house, that one of the people I need to speak to is glitched out in the T-pose and they can't talk to them because they're in the T-pose. So that it's far from perfect and definitely shouldn't have been released, but it's not a horrendous mess. It is. I disagree with that slightly, but each to their own.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'll go next if you want.
Yes.
It's just because I've only played about an hour of it, so I can't really talk too much. But what I have played on the Xbox, briefly, was a decent 30 frames. It was playable. It was smooth. At least it wasn't, losing frames. That would have been awful. If you can play games at 30 frames, it's definitely playable. I'd struggle. It was okay, but then as soon as the PC version unlocked, I was like, turned everything up like you, Dutch. We've got similar laptops, you and I, and cranked it up to epic. And I did run it at 4K, but it looked worse. Even though it was still smooth, it somehow didn't look as good as running it at 1440p. That might have been something I'd done on the settings.
Yeah.
But even at just 1440p, running at 60 frames on epic settings was great. It looked nice. It played smooth. I did have one character in the fire station that totally wasn't. I was running around and looking for the doctor, I think it was.
Yeah.
First person you have to speak to. I ran around the whole fire station looked at every single person and was like, who's this doctor? And then in the end, I noticed that you've got the little markers on the screen. So I followed the marker, and he was where he should have been, which is where I thought he would be, in the room that looks like it's a medical bit, like a doctor's, with the tables and everything and the beds and stuff. He was completely invisible. He was there. When I walked up to the chair, I could talk to him, but he wasn't there at all. So I'm talking to nobody. I thought, is this guy a vampire already? Am I looking at his reflection?
Yeah.
Is there something he's not telling us?
Just day off.
But yeah, apart from that, and like I said, I can't talk too much more because I haven't really played much more. I did have a look around and couldn't find anyone. I think I went the way you just said a minute ago, Sean. When you come out of the fire station, you go towards that town. I literally walked around and thought, where is everybody?
Yeah. And once
but I
you've, the
figured
thing
I'd
is
gone
as
the
well
wrong
as once
way.
you've cleared them out, like as soon as you've cleared them out, like no more AIs appear unless you go back to a safe house and refresh it, and then come back out
Right.
again, and then the same AIs appear that were there in the first place. But like as soon as you wipe them out, that's it. The town's empty. Like no one's there.
That's weird, but yeah, I get it, I suppose. But apart from that, I'm probably gonna play it. But like I said before, I've got Dead Island to play, and I'm playing that in co-op with Chris, and I've got Star Wars to play. So until I've got rid of finished Dead Island at least, I won't be touching it. So, and hopefully by that point, we
We'll
might
have
even
had a
have
lot of
60
patches.
frames mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because Chris has only got the Xbox, so yeah, he's not much interested in it at 30, which I don't blame him. So.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But that's it for me. Apart from that, yeah,
Okay.
can't say much more, sadly.
Jen is the complete opposite end of the scale to
oh.
both of them.
I've had bad luck this week.
Jen's had really bad luck with multiple games,
Mm.
so this is the first of his rants for today. Go for it on Redfall.
Well, I was not going to play this on console 30 frames per second. So my initial take on this game was on PC. Didn't have a good time. At the gates, there was a lot of lag on and off. Not as bad not as bad at the beginning, but once I got past that tutorial section and you open the gates to that fire station,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the world loading in or what, but it caused the lag to increase a hell of a lot. Like for minutes on end, it would lag, and I'd be stuck standing still. Now I've got a 3060 Ti.
Yep.
In my computer. The game's on an SSD. I've checked that the drivers are all up to date.
Yep.
So I don't know what the issue is that's causing this game to lag so hard. But I'm not having a good time in performance. And it also comes at a time after I've played Star Wars. And I've got a lot of performance issues in that game. So I'm a little bit fuming with gaming at the moment. So it's beginning to piss me off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then
like me with OBS.
I was going to say that wasn't the end of your issues, because you did, after dropping the PC because it didn't work, you went over to console.
Yeah.
What was your console experience?
I broke my word because I said I wasn't going to play this at 30 frames per second, but I thought I'll try it.
Yeah.
It's in Game Pass. What have I got to lose?
Yep.
I'll load it up. I installed it this morning. I thought, yep, that'll install. I'll go out shopping. I'll head to Tesco's. I'll come back. I'll try it out. Because my silence speaks all, really.
Face says it all.
Yeah. So I'm hit with performance issues again. This time it's not as bad as the PC. It's a lot smoother, but it's not as smooth as it should be. And that's probably down to a lot of the issues with it being 30 frames per second. It is somewhat smooth in places at 30 frames per second. And I'll give that to you and Mick, because you both played it 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
But it still drops and it's noticeable. And I won't play games like that. It gives me a headache to play games when the frame rates drop. I dropped Gotham Knights because of that. Gotham Knights was still mostly a smooth experience, but there's points in Gotham Knights where it breaks down, and there's something with the load in there that causes a lot of drops in frame rates.
Yeah.
But I've given up with Redfall for now. I'll come back when that 60 FPS patch works.
That's fair.
To put past those performance issues, the AI is dumb.
Yeah.
They should be walking around wearing dunce caps. That's
For
how
those
dumb
who are
they
watching
are.
the gameplay on screen at the minute, you'll have seen how dumb they are. Because like I was standing in a garage, and the guy literally just runs past the entrance, slowly turns around, and then starts shooting at the wall, but not me. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
You can run circles around these, and they'll just stand still most of the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Where's he going? What's he doing? I can't comprehend anything that is happening with this person's movement."
Yep.
The AI is super thick, and it really feels like a sci-fi channel level writing experience here. The story is very average to below average.
I think a lot of the issues with the story as well, and of course, Arcane have done this many times on previous titles, so Arcane fans will love it. But the storyboard method doesn't resonate with mass market. Like the method where you have to collect loads of notepads and look at different lore items and things like that just to get an idea of what is going on with the story, and then you don't even get cutscenes. You get you get flipboard type comic book strips.
So I'll only read the lore items if the story itself is good. If the story is mediocre, I won't bother going to read the lore. Because why should it be on me to go and read a bunch of lore to make your story better just because you couldn't be bothered to write it properly?
Yeah.
That's not on me at that point.
Yep. Agree.
You have a super chat there.
I do indeed. £5 super chat from Andrew Green. He says, Redfall is a mess of a game, and if Microsoft can't manage its IPs they have now, they shouldn't get ABK. We mentioned this actually last week, and I've mentioned it on a couple of podcasts. I've said multiple times the ABK thing's not really for us anyway. Yes, we'd get a few games in Game Pass, but outside of that, there's no real benefit for us as people in the APK thing. It's more for Microsoft. That's a Microsoft thing that is a benefit because they're going to make more money out of it in the long run. But for us as consumers...
In the long run, it's about mobile and expanding their mobile market.
Yeah. As console gamers, there's little to no benefit outside of Game Pass for it. And even then, that's only if you're intentionally going out and buy Call of Duty every year, and I'm not one of those. I buy maybe one every 3 Call of Duties, if I'm lucky. And outside of that, Diablo, which I'm going to get day one, but that's it. I've already got the Crash Bandicoots. I've already got the Crash Team Racings. I already own all of them, so they literally next to no benefit for me. But I agree, they need to start managing their own internal studios first before they even think about any of this stuff, because and we're going to get into it, to be fair, because it's another topic today, is to talk about the state of Xbox's first party in their internal studios, and the state of the games that are releasing. So we'll get into that anyway as a full topic, but appreciate the super chats.
I would say the benefit for us
Yeah.
would be them taking the 99,000 studios they have making COD and let them loose and do their own
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I suppose yeah.
That would be our benefit. But the whole thing, like you said, it's about King.
Yeah,
That's what they want it
about
for.
King.
COD is just a nice piece that you get.
Yeah.
COD is a nice bit of extra money that they can invest into other projects.
Yeah.
If they can manage it.
If they can manage it, yeah. I'm going to dive into my thoughts on Redfall now, because it's a right hit and miss here. So PC, a relatively smooth experience at 60 to 75 frames on Epic settings on an RTX 3060, which had DLSS turned on. I just did it in 1080. There was no need to go any higher than that. It's on a smaller monitor. Don't need to go any higher than that, but it was on Epic settings, 60 to 70 frames. Pretty smooth, apart from, as you've seen in this gameplay footage, which is why I highlight some of them and stop and stare at certain parts. It's primarily for the purpose of showing everyone on here. So you'll see things like texture pop-ins quite frequently, level of detail pop-ins so quite frequently. You'll see a lot of shimmering on some of the lighting and things like that. You do get the occasional stutter, but it's nowhere near as bad as the stutter on console, which is definitely a lot worse. But overall, the PC version of Redfall is absolutely 10 times smoother than it is on console. However, that's not for everybody's setup on PC, because depending on your setup, depending on your cards, as Jen's pointed out, he's got a 3060 Ti, we've got 3060s. Me and Nick have been absolutely fine and it was smooth, but Jen barely got it running, and he's got a better card. So it makes little to zero sense on PC what cards have got good optimization right now, what ones run okay, what ones don't. Some of the lower end cards are doing a better job than the higher end cards, so fuck knows what's going on there. But ultimately, compared to console, a much smoother experience. Now that's pretty much all I'm going to speak on when it comes to the PC version, because I played it solo. It was okay. On the console, for the console, I have to admit, for for being 30 frames, it felt smoother than 30, and that's the only compliment I'm going to give it. It doesn't feel like it's less than 30. To be fair, it feels more like a 40. Like kind of a 40 frames. It feels a little bit smoother than that, so I'll give it that. However, the level of the time it takes for the level of detail to load on console is absolutely horrendous. And we've all seen the pictures, we've all seen the photos of that badge in the fire station that's meant to be the fire station badge on the floor, that is just a red smudge. And it stays that way for the best part of about 30 seconds or more until it eventually goes, oh, wait, I need to load. Pop.
That's
And
what
then
I
it
should have
loads in.
called this game, Red Smudge.
Yeah. It is wild. And it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And that was on a Series X as well, by the way, not a Series S, and I've heard Series S has even more issues. But Series X, there's a lot of LOD pop-ins, there's a lot of texture pop-ins. Overall, it's been pretty smooth, though, in terms of the actual gameplay for me. Went on playing on co-op with Boxy. We both had issues with our respective characters that we didn't see on our screens, but did on each other's. So Boxy's character clipped all the way into the floor, and you could just see his like above his knees onwards, and it was just kind of floating in beneath the floor. I sprung into a T-pose in the fire station, apparently, and was just floating around in a T-pose for a bit. There was numerous sections where we kind of just floated off into certain directions, where enemies would just disappear or kind of appear out of nowhere. And I'm not talking just vampires who obviously have teleportation, I just mean in general. General characters. Then we've got and we've spoken, the chaps here have already very well spoken about it, but the AI is probably some of the worst AI I've come across in a shooting game, to be honest. They are just dumb. Just flat out.
It was the same with I didn't play it, but it appears to be the same with Deathloop.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
AI was
Deathloop's characters are
dumb as well.
Yeah. It's not just this game. Deathloop's character, the AI were pretty dumb on there as well. So I don't know what they're doing with their AI over there at the minute, but they need to sort that out. Because they are absolutely, you could stand in front of them, look at them, or walk around them, and they wouldn't hit you. They wouldn't do anything. They'd miss. They wouldn't really get into any tactical positions. They'd stand in the middle of the road and just start firing instead of looking for cover. They were just overall just super dumb. I don't know what's happened on that front to get them like that. I don't know whether or
I
not
don't
they've
know what it is
intentionally
about
made them dumb
Arcane's
for mass market.
coding for their AI, but it's tragically bad.
It is really bad, and I hope they do fix it. But I've seen a few in chat as well who say, knowing our luck, they'll just go completely the opposite way, and it'll be like playing on nightmare mode on on Doom, and the AI will just be like murdering you within seconds. So yeah, don't go too far when you're fixing the AI, but you've got to do something about them because right now they are dumb as hell. You can take them all out and they wouldn't sneak. Literally, you can, like, unlike regular shooters where if you shoot an enemy, the other enemy notices. Like when you're a sniper, the other enemy notices and they run away. I can literally snipe someone with a headshot on this, and the other enemies just stand beside as if nothing's happened, just like, and then just walk back into the petrol station or something. Like what's going on? So I'll just pick them off. And none of them react. None of them come and try to find us. They're just like, okay. Wonder what happened to him. Yeah, it's God knows what happened there.
Do we get the impression that they just, with these games, they just sort of, you said about before about Matt Booty or whoever it is who's sort of doing these last, sort of checking the quality. Does it feel like that they're checking the quality 6 months before, and that these teams are just going, yeah, we're going to get all that fixed by launch, and then that's the last they ever see of it. Nobody actually bothers to check it again before it goes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like QA testing doesn't exist in this day and age.
It really doesn't. It's crazy.
Another thing I want to speak about here, because I'm going to get onto that point actually in a minute, Mick, because there's a point that I kind of touched on a little bit about the launch and things like that I think is very relevant to today. The story missions have little to no payoff. Me and Boxy did this mission where you go to you've got to go and get, it always ends up in a basement. No matter what mission it is, you end up in a basement, right? the story point always takes you to the basement. We got this mission where we had to collect this film reel, which was in some random building. Then we had to take that film reel to the cinema and then watch it. So we watched that. That was the end of that mission. And then it says go back to the fire station. So you go back to the fire station, and then you select to go to a mansion because in the film reel you see the laboratory. So you have to go to the mansion to find his laboratory. So we go to the mansion. We take out all the enemies. One of the first things you have to do is find loads of dolls. So we find the dolls. And then you have to take out these 3 vampire type things. They're called sinners or something like that. And they're like weird kind of exploding vampires. You have to find 3 of those and kill those. And then you have to find the keys for the doors to open the doors. And then you have to find the echoes to unlock the next section. And then you go to the dollhouse and put the dolls in the dollhouse. And when you've done that, then you're going to have to go and find some more stuff. And then get another key. And then go to back to the dollhouse. And when we thought that was it, and there was going to be some kind of boss fight or some payoff at the end of this mission because we'd just been doing fetch quests in a mansion for the last 20 minutes, it just said return to fire station for the next mission. Like, is that it? So is that it? So I've just been running around a mansion, collecting dolls, putting them in doll houses, collecting keys, collecting echoes, around a little mansion, going back and forwards, where it gives you no guide as to where anything is. It doesn't tell you where any of the sinners are. So you've got to kind of run around in every room, and they only appear once you've killed one. So when you've killed one, you've got to find another. But they don't tell you where in the house it is. They don't make any noise, these sinners, and they're invisible. They're invisible vampires. So you can't just see them. You've got to specifically look for them in every individual room in the property. So we went round this room for about 20 minutes thinking, where the fuck is this guy? So we had to go all the way outside, looked round the property, found a greenhouse, went into the greenhouse, killed the final sinner, got the last thing, went back into the property, go into his... Just going round in circles, and the same thing, doing fetch quests in a house. that had zero payout. There was no payoff for it at all. There wasn't any special loot. You didn't get any special things for it. You didn't get anything for completing that mission apart from just generic XP. And then it was just go back to the fire station for your next mission. And there was a point where me and Boxy just literally went, God, that was dull.
You know what's funny? And Laura mentioned it in the chat, that Phil Spencer only played this for 37 minutes.
Really?
So even he was impressed.
Oh dear. Oh dear. But yeah, I don't. The main issue, to kind of get to summarize my feelings on the game, it is not a horrific game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a great game either. It is unfortunately in the category of what I would put as completely and utterly forgettable. Unlike some of the games that have came out before, like your Gears of Wars, like your God of Wars, like your Jedis, like your Plague Tale Requiems, like your Psychonauts, like your Spider-Mans, like your Last of Us's. Those games are memorable games. The things that you remember about those series, those games that take you back to them, you look fondly on them, you do it. When I'm playing this game, and I've finished playing this game, in about 2 days' time, I'll have completely forgotten about it. And there's nothing that will remind me of playing it. There is nothing. It is a forgettable experience. And I think that is more of an issue than being a bad game. When your game is forgettable, I think it is worse than being bad. If it's a bad game, people are going to remember it. If it's a forgettable game, no one's going to even talk about it, even in a bad sense, in a few months' time. It's just going to be forgettable. And I think that's more of a travesty for the studio than anything else. And I think the key issues here is that it tried to be so many things and was master of none. So it tried to be a looter shooter and it didn't master it. Tried to be a first-person shooter, it hasn't mastered it. Tried to be a good co-op game, hasn't mastered it. Tried to be a good single-player game, it hasn't mastered it. Tried to do good storytelling, it definitely didn't do that. It tried to be an interesting vampire game, hasn't really done that. The AIs are terrible. So it's got loads of different things,
Honestly,
mechanics, but none of them
vampire
are
games, not good. Cursed. Don't ever make a vampire game ever again, please.
yeah, Vampire
I would
Masquerade
agree
wasn't
with that.
great
Every
either.
vampire game I've ever played has not been great.
It feels like they've took a lot of different parts of other games and got so far with them, but not finished them or fleshed them out.
That's the problem, and this is what we're kind of talking about. There's far too many features of the game that they've tried to implement, and none of them are finished. None of them are finished. The kind of ibs and dribs and drabs of certain things, but none of them have come together in anything that's substantial. And it's kind of just like, okay, so we've got kind of a skill tree-ish, but you're already like 2 hours into the game, you unlock your ultimate ability. And then it becomes a walk in the park. like say the ultimate ability for this guy is literally you press the 2 buttons and you can one-shot, headshot everybody and you're invisible at the same time. And it literally auto-zooms onto the heads. So you don't even have to zoom. You just go next you, next you, next you, next you. You don't even have to aim. It just auto-aims onto the heads and kills them in one shot. So it's like, and then the loot is terrible. Like, all of the guns are almost identical. And the salvage system is pointless. There's nothing in the shops to buy that's worth anything. So you may as well just stick to the loot that you pick up.
You pick up loot pretty quick anyway. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The shops are pretty much pointless.
The control pad D zone is humongous. The dead zone on it is just.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, that's another thing I didn't mention. The controls for this are garbage on PC. Playing it on a controller on PC is bad. It's awful. The worst experience I've ever had. I've ended up just playing it with keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
On console, it ain't that much better, but on PC, it's like near impossible to get your sensitivity dialed in and make it feel right for you.
Yeah. $2 super chat from Splendiferous there. He says, are you saying this was a waste of an investment on Xbox? I would never say that for any game. Because I always, and this is regardless of whether or not a game's a failure, or whether or not a game's good, or bad, or great, or indifferent.
So I don't
What
think
I
we
would
could say
say-
it's a waste of an investment for Xbox, because this was in development before Xbox even purchased Bethesda.
I was going to even aside from that, the only way you can learn and improve as developers, as studios, as people is to try. If you don't try, you can't fail, which means you can't learn. If you try and you fail, then you'll learn from that experience and it'll make you better in the long run. And Microsoft and Bethesda and Arcane will learn from the failings of this game, and hopefully it makes them better going forwards. There's never such thing as a bad kind of game in that sense when it comes to the AAAs, because they're a learning experience, especially when it's not something that Arcane have to worry about with regards to finances, etc. They're definitely going to make more games. They're going to have to go back. They're going to have to do a lot of work on this one first to kind of make up the space. And it's happened. We've seen it. When Sea of Thieves launched, as we know, Sea of Thieves was a bare bones. It had nothing there. There was near zero content. There was fun. There was little splashes of fun in Sea of Thieves, but there was nothing to keep anybody there. We're like 5 years into Sea of Thieves now, and look at it. 5 years into Sea of Thieves now, and look at it. It is like 30-odd million players. It is full of content. It's got loads of stuff to do. It's been completely polished. It's transformative of what's happened. So there's never such thing as really a failed thing. It just depends on what the internals choose to do with it. If the internals choose to just sack it off, forget it ever existed, then that's on them. But ultimately, it's a learning experience. Arcane have to learn from this. They need to know what...
I think like one of the biggest talking points on this should be, this game was meant to come out a year ago. What the hell would it have looked like then?
Yep. 100%. And we've said that about dozens of games this generation from Xbox. We've said that dozens of times. And
we said the exact same thing for Halo Infinite, although Halo Infinite actually launched and didn't really have any issues in the performance department and the gameplay department. It was great. The problem with Halo was the content and features department.
Yeah, the content and features for the multiplayer were absolutely terrible.
But it's the same, like the same question is, you delayed that for a year. What do you really have to show for it? What did this game look like a year ago when you was going to actually launch it?
Yeah. Splendiferous with another $2 super chat. He says they were in real trouble before the acquisition. Why? To be fair, before the acquisition, you have to think about this as Bethesda, ZeniMax. They had control over the finances. They had control over the studios, so they would have made the financial decisions of whether or not to keep these companies afloat. If they weren't successful, then they would probably merge them internally. And we've seen that from a lot of studios, including over at Sony and in Square Enix. We've seen what happened after Forspoken. When Forspoken had finished and released, it was a matter of days after that game had come out. They completely dissolved the studio and put them within other studios within Square. So it happens. And the fortunate thing for Arcane is that because Microsoft are pulling the money strings on this front, and they can make sure there isn't any issues money-wise for Bethesda, ZeniMax, and the studios within that, then it gives them a little bit of breathing space. It means they can actually try things. You can try and fail. Some things are going to work, some things aren't, and that's essentially how Microsoft are kind of operating. The problem is, and we'll get to it a little bit later on, is they need to get a tighter rein on quality control, and severe tighter rein. What I'll never kind of go against is them trying to do something different. But the problem Redfall has is it tries to do too much, and it doesn't master any of them. That is ultimately the problem on Redfall. It tries to do far too much, and it ends up losing itself. It loses itself entirely because it doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it a looter shooter? Is it a kind of a shooting RPG? Is it an arcane game? Is it a co-op game? Is it a single player game? What is it?
It fails to find its identity.
Yeah.
Redfall.
And it's just a generic looter shooter at the end of it. That's all it comes down to. That's all it feels like to me. It's just a generic looter shooter that ultimately I'll forget in a couple of weeks' time. And it's unfortunate. And again, I don't hold all the devs because there's and I've seen some of them on Twitter. Some of them, it's their first game that they've ever worked on. So hats off to them and to the devs that have worked their souls off. Try not to take any of the criticisms personally on the game. Try to take it as constructive if you can. Of course, ignore those that are just going, it's absolute shit, because that doesn't help anybody. They need to find their focus. And whatever they work on next, they need to have a solid idea as to what direction that game is going in. And it doesn't try to overdo things. It doesn't try to implement too many systems where they clash and they don't make much sense. They need to figure out what is going wrong with the AI and sort that out for whatever game they've got coming up next. They need to sort it out for this one, of course, because this one needs patched first and foremost before they do anything else. And then they need to... Clearly, the art style hasn't really done them any favours either on this occasion, because if it was a fully working game with a lot of interesting things to do, I think some people would have overlooked the art style. But then I think it's also getting a lot of heat because on Microsoft's perspective, it's their first and only AAA game that they've released this year. And it doesn't look next gen, and it's a next gen only game, and people are already going to call them out on that. So yeah, for me it is a bang average, as it stands, a bang average 6. Slightly, the only reason it's slightly above average is because I've played it in co-op and it's okay in co-op.
All games are okay in co-op.
Yeah, exactly. If I hadn't played co-op, or I didn't play co-op in this, it would be a 5. It's just bang average. It's not horrendous, but it's not groundbreaking. It's not great. It's just okay. It's just okay. And unfortunately for Microsoft, they can't afford to just have okay games. They can't. And we're going to get into that as well as our next topic. Before I do, actually, there is a super chat there. From Andrew Green again. After Redfall, I fear for Starfield. This is an issue Microsoft are going to have to get to grips with very, very quickly. Sean, I want to get your thoughts on this as well. After the kind of performance of this game, from an actual performance technical standpoint, with its texture issues and its AI issues and things like that, what's your kind of thoughts on the Starfield release? Do you think this is going to kind of give concerns to Microsoft as well? Do you think they're going to take another look at it, or do you think it's a concerning thing to look at on the run up to Starfield?
Would I have concerns for Naughty Dog's next game based off Days Gone? No.
Yeah.
2 completely different studios. They're not even like in the same, Arcane Leon and Arcane Austin. They're not even, in that thing. My concerns with Starfield is the same concerns that people have because of Fallout 4, how that launched.
Fallout 76 too.
Fallout 76 wasn't the same dev team that were doing Starfield.
Yeah, that was ZeniMax Online.
Oh yeah, true. It wasn't, was it?
It was Bethesda, but it was a branch off thing. Tom Howard was involved loosely, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it was it was ZeniMax, wasn't it?
It was ZeniMax, but it was a different ZeniMax team. It wasn't the team that do the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
ZeniMax is quite a big team.
Yeah, they're massive.
Yeah, they've got
sub studios within each other.
Yeah. So I'm not concerned because of what's happened with Redfield. I'm concerned with other stuff just because they get the Bugfest name for a reason. Let's not pretend. I'm hoping because of they're using the Creation 2.0 engine that they've managed to iron out a lot of the bugs that would limit, that would be caused by the engine. They're able to do that, but again, I'm not a dev. I don't know exactly what's gone into the new engine and how it will impact development for a positive or negative. It's Todd Howard. I enjoy his games. There isn't, I've been playing his games since Morrowind. It was like
Yeah.
when I bought the OG Xbox, that's what was bundled in with it.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed all of them. So I've no doubt, unless things go horrendously wrong, I still think it'll be a good game. Whether it'll be 30 or 60 is a whole different matter.
Yeah.
Judging by what you said before, what Todd Howard said before, with 30's fine. I kind of think it might be, but just even leading up, even before Redfield, the talk of 60 was, quite prevalent. So I do wonder whether that it was put back to September to try and squeeze in a 60 performance, because they've added them to Fallout 4, haven't they?
Yes.
They added a 60.
Yeah.
So they can do
They had
it.
FPS boosts.
Was it just via FPS boost, or was there an actual?
I think it was just via
Just the
FPS
FPS
boosts.
boost.
There weren't no full next gen patches for those games.
Yeah.
I thought there was a next gen
apart from
update.
Skyrim did get a next gen re-release, but Fallout hasn't. Fallout 4 hasn't.
Yeah, Fallout was just
there
was just the.
But it's Skyrim. That thing you can play it on your toaster nowadays.
Well, you can't. You can't play on the PC because it crashes.
Yeah.
Still can't get it working.
Shout out to Mick as well, by the way. Welcome as a mix-up recruit.
Yeah. I've been minting it for ages. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, for everybody in chat as well, we have introduced a member section purposefully because, of course, unlike Twitch, you cannot have emojis for everybody unless they're channel members. Like on Twitch, you can assign certain emojis for people in chat just for the crack, without them being members or paying you. But you can't do that on YouTube. So what I've done is created the lowest possible denomination of a membership, which is £1, which is Mix Up Recruit, which means, of course, with that, you get access to the emojis and you can, of course, join in with spamming emojis and things like that. So if you want to be a channel member, it's £1.
It's worth it for when Vin's here and I can do that now.
Yeah, you can now just time out Vin.
Whenever he talks about Sonic or Scalebound.
So if anybody else is considering signing up, just remember when Vin's here and he starts talking about Sonic.
Yeah,
that's your payout right there.
Well, we've only got to say it one more time, and Vin's going to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, Sonic's appearing on
screen in front of a mirror.
Dear God.
Apparently there is supposed to be a Fallout 4 next gen patch coming out this year.
Yes, there is actually. You're right.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of announced after in the extended showcase that they've got. And we'll speak about that as well because that was announced today, the extended showcase. We already knew there was a regular one. We did hope that they would bring out an extended showcase. So the extended showcase last year was actually quite good and we got a couple of extra little kind of games announcements there that we didn't expect, like Chainsaw Massacre, which is coming to Gamepass soon. But yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, have you got any additional concerns about Starfield based on the release of this gen?
Not so much Starfield, no. It doesn't worry me too much.
Yeah.
What worries me about Starfield is Todd's little lies. Todd loves to lie.
Yes.
And a lot of people let that slide, Who remembers when he said 16 times the detail about Fallout 76 and that game was 16 times a disaster?
Yeah. That was abysmal, that launch.
So,
that was one of the worst. If people want to look at what a terrible launch is, you have to look at Fallout 70. Yeah. Dear God, that was bad.
Mm-hmm.
That was bad.
I think with people like Todd Howard, I wouldn't say so much lies. I put them in the same category as Peter Molyneux, where they have these big visions, but
they don't come to fruition.
I don't know whether it's the talent or the technology or whatever. It just doesn't. It's not there. It's not possible. I suppose if it's not possible, it is a lie, isn't it? But I think a lot of what they talk about is what their hopes and dreams for it is, rather than going, we're going to do this, this, and this, and they have absolutely no intention of doing that. I think it's more of a Peter Molyneuxism, where with Fable, where you're going to do this and that will happen, and it's just like, and then he realizes that you can't do that because the OG Xbox just didn't have that facility. Wasn't powerful enough to do that.
Can we not mention Peter Molyneux again? Because otherwise, that's gonna like Vin. If we say Sonic too many times,
We'll
if
just
we say
appear.
Peter Molyneux too many times,
He's
he
going to
might
show
come
up to
back.
sell you one of his NFTs.
Yeah, and try and do something stupid with the next Fable or something. I don't know. I just don't want to chance it.
No, that only happens if you need to be drinking Bloody Mary in front of a mirror and a circle of candles. That's only when that's going to happen.
Circle of chickens in Fables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for him for bringing me Fable, but now he needs to, just go away.
But a
Never come
positive
back.
for Starfield is that he does see it as almost like his Opus Dei. So I'm hoping he puts a bit more care and love into it because that's it's his little baby.
Yeah.
But again, whether that will translate to actually being a quality product or not is time will tell.
Everything just works.
Yeah, let's not do that. There's only so many summons.
I will say I won't be playing that in 30 frames per second either. I'm playing that on PC only.
Yeah.
That game better be in 60.
Yeah. See, I'm going to stick with, if I'm playing more Redfall, I'm going to be sticking to it on PC, which is predominantly where the better experience is, to be honest, for me. So if I play more of it, it'll be on PC. Mick,
Can we take bets on what game I'm going to play next that's going to be broken?
Yeah, we're going to get into more broken games soon, Jen. So we'll... Mick, what do you think? What do you think about Starfield? Are you more concerned now with this release?
Probably slightly more concerned, but like we've said, it's a different. It's the Elder Scrolls team. This one, Starfield. It's not one of the smaller teams. This is the major team. My worry is that if they do somehow cock this up, that's a big problem.
Yeah,
they need to get on top of this.
Yeah, because then you have to justify why you spent all that money on Bethesda.
Yeah. So I think we'll be all right, but obviously there's always that sort of nagging feeling, and just sort of in the background, just sort of. You keep saying you've done this, you're doing it, you're checking this stuff, and everything's, going to get better, and the games are coming, and everything's going to be fine, and then this happened, and you're like, I don't know, because
why are we paying $70 for games again, £70 for games again, when they're launching like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got an upgrade for your membership there.
I do indeed, yeah. Phanto upgraded his membership to Midweek Mix-Up Valkyrie, which is the top tier one, so thank you, and welcome back to the Valkyrie level there, Phanto. Thank you. Much appreciated as always, sir. We also were running a poll on if people are enjoying Redfall. So we had 77 votes. 36% said no, they're not enjoying Redfall. 23% said yes, they are enjoying Redfall. 29% haven't played it yet, and 11% are waiting for 60 frames per second on console. So it's kind of even across the board, but no is slightly edging it out. So there we go. So out of 77 votes, 36% said no and 23% said yes. But 11% of those could go either way as well, because they're waiting for 60 frames. So we'll see how they feel. And the other 29%, of course, I don't
really think 60 FPS is going to change many people's opinion on this game. And by the time it comes out, most people are going to have moved on anyway.
Yeah. I agree. But this brings us into a good kind of conversation on the state of kind of Xbox's first party. Now, the reason I bring this up as well is a point that Mick brought out. I think it was Mick brought out before, with regards to Redfall's release, when it released, etc., and the polish and kind of when they just wanted to kind of get it out. I fully believe, and I said this weeks ago, that this being the last big game out of that 12-month window that was due to hit within the first 12 months, Microsoft were going to get this game out for love nor money, so that at least one of the games that they said was coming in that 12-month window, the AAAs, actually made that 12-month window. And that is the only reason I think this game was not delayed again.
Yeah, I think you could be right.
That's the only
Wouldn't be
reason.
surprised.
Because if you have a look at it, Forza's not made the first 12 months. Starfield's not made the first 12 months. Stalker didn't make the first 12 months, despite that being third party, and it's a good reason why Stalker hasn't, but it hasn't. There's a number of, even the indie games haven't made the 12-month window that it was originally slated for. There's been a few more games that have been pushed out to like August, September, October, that were all on the third-party lineup. You had Minecraft Legends release, but again, that is a very Marmite game. Some people are going to like it, some people are not. A lot of people aren't going to play it just because it's Minecraft, and they really just don't like the Minecraft style. And that's fair. You can't force people to play it, and it's a niche game anyway. So I fully believe that they pushed Redfall out regardless, to make sure that they had at least one game that hit that 12-month window from their own first-party studios. Granted, we got Hi-Fi Rush, but that was a shadow drop.
That's a game we didn't even know was in existence until it was shadow dropped.
The beauty of that is that because nobody knew that game really existed, it could get to the point where it was completely and utterly polished before it launched. It had no pressure. Nobody knew it was there. It wasn't burdened by a release date. The studio came to Phil Spencer and the Xbox hierarchy and said, can we shadow drop it at this thing? Like, we feel it's ready. We feel it's good to go. And they released it. And it did wonders. Did absolute wonders. It was highly praised. It was super polished. It ran flawlessly. There was next to zero, if not any bugs. I didn't encounter any. But that's a one-off. It's an absolute one-off. And again, it was a smaller title, a really well-polished smaller title. But when it comes to the AAAs, Microsoft have time and time again this generation either missed it entirely, or the optimization and performance of the games that were released have been piss poor. Absolutely piss poor. And they need to get a hold of it sooner rather than later. When their competitors are absolutely dominating it, granted the games aren't rolling out for their competitors, when they are coming out, for the most part, they're working. Now granted, Horizon Forbidden West had its issues at launch. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as this. Of course, we know The Last of Us Part 1 on PC was an absolute train wreck when that launched on the PC. It was a buggy mess, graphical issues everywhere, stuttering issues, crashing. Optimization problems out the teeth. But Xbox consistently this gen have released games that have been prone to issues, have been lacking content, unfinished, and no real roadmap as to where they're going. That's an issue that needs rectified. Sean, what's your kind of thoughts on Xbox's position so far this gen, and do you think it's coming to a point now where if they really don't pull it out the bag following their showcase and beyond, that the generation's almost coming to a tipping point where they're kind of losing track of it already? What do you think?
It just seems that the problem with Xbox is there's always, well, recently there's always so much promise, but very little is delivered.
Overpromise, underdeliver.
Yeah.
And that desperately needs to change. I don't buy into this sack Phil Spencer or sell off Xbox crap just because of that kind of thing kind of comes up every now and then when something like a Redfall happens, but I don't subscribe into that. But
Yeah.
I think are they unlucky? Is it just poor? Is it the whole poor planning? What's the old adage? Prepare to fail or fail to prepare,
to
or whatever
prepare,
way around
yeah.
it is.
That's right.
It seems a lot like that in a way. That they've kind of got, right, we've got this, and they've counted all their eggs before they've hatched, and then something's happened and it's kind of snowballed. Like the whole 12 months thing comes off the back of them panicking because everybody's like, where's the games, where's the games, where's the games? So they're going, right, let's do this. That's 12 months, and that's really came back and given them all a kick in the
Something
nuts.
they can never use again because they have promised and delivered.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they should have just put, for up to the end of this year, that would give them a buffer. So from now till the end of 2023, these are what you can expect, and it would just give them a massive buffer for things. But 12 months from now till next E3 sounds a lot more attractive, and it shows a lot more promise. So I'm not overly concerned just yet.
Yeah.
This whole kind of winning generations, I just think is fanboy nonsense anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care how many they sell, to be honest with you, as long as they sell enough to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm bothered about. If you're going to go, well, this game's doing well. Oh well, they've only sold 25 million consoles.
I think it's
Who
more
the
about
hell
being.
cares?
I think it's more about being competitive, and at the moment, as a competitor in the space, they're losing their competitiveness.
Yeah, that's true. And you want them to compete because
that's how other studios progress. That's how your competitors get better and your competitors push to be better. If you're releasing poorly optimized, terrible games, what are you going to be concerned about? Like, you're going to be like, right, okay, so we don't have to worry too much because our games come out in a much better state than this. And
but it also allows Sony to do what they've been doing with contracts and money hacking. If you're the dominant leader, they're able to go in and go, right, well, here's a contract and you don't work with our rivals for 18 months. You can't do anything with them for 18 months.
Yeah.
They don't really give them much of a choice. Microsoft, I'd say, is partly to blame for that, for being so weak, being a little bit inept. So that's why you want them to compete. I don't want to see Sony go. I don't want to see Microsoft go. I want them to be both strong competitively, because I win at the end of the day when that happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys
But
both?
I don't think they're on the way. I don't think they're anywhere near danger of failing or anything like that. I mean, I suppose it depends on what you see as a failure.
Yeah.
What's their benchmarks of failing, and what's your benchmarks of failing. If there could be, well, I want 4 AAA games that are made, in the 85 to 95 meta 4 times a year.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to get that, so you'll always fail. But
to be fair, what we think is a fail is irrelevant. It's what the money that's coming in determines, to them, whether it's a failure or not. Everything else is irrelevant.
And ultimately to them, they're looking more. We know now that they're not looking at the bottom line as much as they are looking at user engagement and how many people are actually playing the game or trying the games.
But to get user engagement, you need good product.
Yeah,
exactly. Everybody goes on about Game Pass, and Game Pass is amazing.
But you need enough content in it to justify it.
If you stop providing quality content, people are going to stop subscribing to it.
Yeah.
And you're going to fail. That's why I don't get this whole kind of, well, it's Game Pass fodder. It's just like, no, there's no such thing really, because you need good games for people to subscribe.
Yeah.
If they just started giving me old games, or games that are kind of like when I say indie games, I mean bad indie games.
Yeah. Really old ones.
Then I'm not going to subscribe to the service. It's not worth it.
Well, I mean, the perfect kind of thing to show that off is Xbox Live Gold. If all we were getting is what comes out with the free games with Xbox Live Gold every month, would you subscribe?
No, if that was what Gold was,
and
it wasn't, you had to have it for online, then no, I wouldn't. I don't even look to see what games that they have available each month. It's just
because it's
like,
terrible.
the only reason. Yeah, the
I
only
can't
reason
remember
know
the
that-
last time I actually looked at Xbox Live Gold's free games.
Yeah.
The only reason I know that it's Star Wars Pod Racer this month is because somebody on Twitter posted something on it.
I was about to say that. The only reason I know what it is because there was a Star Wars game on there, so I downloaded it. That's about it.
But it's like I don't know. I don't care about the service.
Yeah.
It's just pointless to me.
Yeah.
And if that happened to Thingy, then it'd be the same. I wouldn't waste my money on it. My money, I work hard for my money. I'm not going to blow it on.
Crap.
Well, I blow it on a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
I was going to say you're going to blow it on something else.
I'll tell you what, I dropped 1,200 quid in the last fortnight. Some of it's, a lot of it's on bills, other of it was on like clothes I needed and whatnot. But I was like, I felt that it was stuff I needed.
Yeah.
It wasn't kind of wasted money, but it was like I can't afford to do that every month.
No.
Definitely can't afford to do that every month.
Yeah.
So now I'm counting pennies again.
It happens. It happens. Mick, what do you think? Do you think Microsoft need to start booking their ideas up sooner rather than later? Do you think it's going to get away from them?
I think they certainly need to get a hold on the public perspective of it all. We can only assume that Starfield is not going to be like this. You would like to think. Mostly because we know the game.
people that are concerned over that, it's two entirely different studios. From a narrative perspective, primarily a narrative perspective. Have Bethesda ever released a game that wasn't narratively good? The answer is no.
No.
The games that they release from a narrative perspective, Skyrim, Oblivion, etc., narratively as a game with stories, they've been good. So even from a narrative aspect, and all that stuff, and the funny AI, the AIs, as daft as they are, narratively they're good. We've got the gold one-liners, like took an arrow to the knee and things like that. Like, these are all moments that you remember from Bethesda Studios, and they're the kind of experiences we're looking forward to in Starfield. So from an actual story perspective, it's already got an upper hand, to be honest.
Oh, I always see them kind of games of, we've got, here's your main story, but we've built this world, go have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Create your own kind of fun. And they let you do that because, there's so many side missions, and you can play Fallout 4 or 5 times and you'll come across things, people, things, or whatever that you didn't come across to the first 3 times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think it'll be fine. But obviously, the social media side of it is obviously doom and gloom, as it is with anything like this. They do need to just get on top. And I know that they've put out the thing about the showcase, and they've talked about Starfield today.
Yeah.
It feels like that was a sort of deliberate kind of, oh, by the way, don't forget, and try and draw attention away from Redfall a bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't pay attention to the bad news. Here's some good news.
Here's some good news, and all the rest of it.
It's like what was it a few weeks back? They had something bad about Xbox, and then controller.
Yeah.
They did that the other day. They did that yesterday when Redfall released. They dropped another controller. They're like, controllers! You're like, oh, stop it.
Yeah.
We don't need any more. We've already announced 45 this year. We don't need more than that.
Yeah. Even I'm limiting the amount of controllers I'm buying these days, because unless it's something really special, it's just like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I've got enough. Unless you
more controllers than games, unfortunately.
Yeah, unless you do something really out there and special, then I'm good for now.
Yeah,
I don't want to see any more. The Aqua Shift and all those other sort of style ones. I'm done.
I'd like to see more of the kind of like the Sea of Thieves type.
Yes.
I think they should quit with all this controller nonsense and work on a fucking Elite Series 3.
Yeah.
2 different departments. It's not even the same people.
Yeah, it's not the same people.
Yeah.
I think it's this. Is it the Surface team that work on the?
Yeah, they've actually got a separate design lab team.
Yeah.
That work on that.
I mean, once they've what they need to do is, like I say, they need to get on top of this media side of it a bit more than just announcing the showcase and reminding people that it's coming. They could do with a little bit more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's not going to make a blind bit of difference, is it? They just wish they'd put more effort into the testing. It feels like they're not testing anything. There needs to be like a cut-off line,
Yeah.
like close to the end, like to the finished product, where they test it before they put out the official.
I mean, in an
definitely
ideal
coming.
world, Mick, in an ideal world, you wouldn't announce the game was releasing until it's gone gold.
Yes.
Ideally.
Ideally, but most games don't go gold until the month before release.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yes.
That's the problem. But unfortunately, we're not in an
Some
ideal
cases
world.
2 weeks before, because like I don't think Redfall actually went gold until like 2 weeks before launch.
Yeah.
And that was surprising to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A quick shout
And in
out
some
to
cases,
Phantom Sir,
like
actually.
Cyberpunk,
Sorry, a
they
quick...
announced the game had gone gold and then they delayed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Phantom Sir. I didn't miss your chat, by the way. I was just waiting to pick up the ideal moment to get to it.
I think.
Go on.
Oh, sorry, go on. I was just gonna say, I think the way that Bethesda used to do games announcements is good. It's like, yeah, this is the game. It's out in 3 months.
Yeah. That's the way it should be. That's the way Microsoft should be. You know exactly when it's in a good enough state to release, and then you release it. Granted, Bethesda games have got their renown, but we'll get to that anyway.
Go back to Fantas's
Yes.
message,
Yeah, I was about
because
to
I have
say.
to say,
Sorry,
I agree with something he says there.
Back to Valkyrie. Obviously the level of membership he has. I didn't think I'd be seeing Hogwarts and Dead Island 2 are my favourite games of 2023 so far. Who knew? Bring on Tears of the Kingdom, still playing Switch while Xbox stumbles. Yep.
Yep, I'm looking forward to getting Tears of the Kingdom next week or whatever it is. 10
Yep.
days from now, is it? Something like that.
Yeah.
If I didn't think they were bringing out a new Nintendo in the next couple of years, I'd be tempted to get the.
Yeah, I think it's
Tears of
pretty
the
much
Kingdom
bang on
OLED.
now
Yeah.
that they are bringing out a new Nintendo. Otherwise, I would get the OLED.
Yeah.
You also have Marion as well. with
Yes.
19 months.
Yes, with a load of shield wall shields. Welcome back to the shield wall, Marion. 19-month membership. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Good
And of
man.
course, Phanto, sir, was 13 months, so some nice long-termers there. Much appreciated. But I have to agree, some of my favourite games so far this year have been both Hogwarts. Diablo is going to take over my life. I know that already. I absolutely loved Diablo, and I know I'm going to power hundreds of hours into that. But Hogwarts, definitely. Hi-Fi Rush, absolutely. Some absolutely amazing games already this year. So we have, for those who are multi-platform gamers, so many great experiences already. And there's so many more left
You know
to
what's
come.
crazy? It's crazy to think that this gen so far, the best game that Microsoft has released was a Shadow Drop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Tremendous game. I hope it gets another one. I truly do. It was such a fun game. Such a fun game. And it was so well polished. The art style was amazing. The humor was great. The story was good. The combat was fun, fluid. The music was amazing. Just on point. So yeah, hats off to that. I'm glad that they did do that. And I'm glad the team got that opportunity. But yeah, for me, there again on the Starfield topic. No, I'm not extra concerned. I do believe there's a very high possibility it's going to release at 30 frames. So I think people need to get themselves ready for that. It is not just because it's Todd Howard's game, but the type of game it is. I fully think that he's going to push for that quality mode first approach. If there's performance, I think it's going to be a bonus for people who want that performance mode. Do I think he'll delay his game in order to get it in? No. I think, if anything, he's going to put it in. He's going to put it in months after. Todd is very much, and he's mentioned this on several occasions, he's a quality and fidelity man first. He wants the game to look its best, regardless. and that's his aim. So I think people need to prepare themselves for 30 frames. I really do. And if you're wanting that high frame
on
rate
PC.
mode, PC, yeah. If you want that high frame rate mode PC at launch, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong for people wanting 60 frames on console at launch, but I don't think I will be. I think you're going to be 30 frames on console at launch, and if you want that high frame rate mode, you're going to be playing on PC. Do I think it's going to be performance-wise worse than Redfall? No. I think as Sean mentioned earlier, with Creation Engine 2, they've had a chance to work with this engine over the course of the development of Starfield. It has been created kind of in conjunction with the game. So I believe that the performance is going to be better. I think it is going to have less bugs than a regular Bethesda drop has done in the past. But even saying that, the likes of Skyrim, etc., when it launched, yeah, it was buggy. The performance wasn't great, but we'll have to think about this was like 360 generation, and it wasn't a great platform. Like in terms of performance-wise, we're talking like you're lucky if it was like 20 odd to 30 frames on 360 anyway. But the bugs that we're talking about.
Let's not forget about those load times on Skyrim on the 360.
Oh
as
god,
well.
yeah. But the bugs that we're talking about.
Tea while you wait for the game to load.
The bugs that we're talking about on that though were like your generic open world bugs where like you had clipping, you had T-posing, you had like the horse galloping in wrong directions.
People.
Yeah. You had like generic stuff, but nothing that was like ultimately game breaking. And I think that's an issue there. But no, I'm not overly concerned about Redfield. Jesus Christ. Starfield. I think it's far too big of a project. Like Redfall was like 4 years in development. Starfield's been a decade. It's been a decade. I am not like overly concerned with that, and it's an entirely separate team. I think I would say people shouldn't be concerned for Starfield. I think it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I think the amount of different gameplay segments are shown on it, including the unveiling again in the showcase, the extended showcase, we'll show a little bit more of that off as well. So, yeah, I think we'll be all right on Starfield, to be honest. But before we move on to showcases and other things, let's talk about Jedi Survivor. Jen, you haven't had the best of weeks.
I'm gonna go make something to eat and get. I'll be back in a bit.
You haven't had the best of weeks, Jen. What's
No.
Let the people
we
know
fully
what's happened
covered
with
the
your
whole Jedi Survivor thing on the weekend edition. So I'll briefly cover what happened with me. I didn't have a good time with that. Even on performance mode, there was a lot of issues. I'm the type of person that goes into settings, turns off motion blur, chromatic aberration. What's the other thing? Film grain.
Yeah.
And those, for some reason, wouldn't go off. They were off in the menu, but they weren't because I could still see it.
Yep.
It's like the game had told the system it was off, but the system was like, no, it's not.
No, you're not turning that off. No,
you're not turning that off. You got to suffer the motion blur, and then just after a while, it grated on me. Motion blur makes me feel motion sick because I can notice it a lot.
Yeah.
So I always turn that off. Whatever game I play, motion blur goes off along with chromatic aberration, and film grain I turn off most of the time, depending on how obnoxious it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, my issue with that, mainly performance issues, didn't really have any bugs with Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
It's just the performance. I couldn't stomach that, dropping it down to 30 frames per second. So basically, in the end, I just got a refund, and now I'm waiting. As much as there's been a patch come out, I'm still going to wait a little bit longer, just for a few extra patches before I decide to.
I was going to say the good news, Jen. Again. The patch that dropped on consoles was the patch that dropped on PC the other day. PC also got a second patch, which dropped alongside the console one. which isn't out on consoles yet, which is increased performance issues. So, sorry, not increased it, decreased performance issues again on PC. So that one is also due out on console shortly. It's going through its testing phase. So there is another patch already out on PC that they're testing for console shortly. So there is a second patch on the way for the consoles within the week.
So maybe this time next week I'll pick it up again.
Yeah.
I will not be paying full price for it. I'm going to take the CD keys route and get it cheaper.
Yeah.
I ain't paying full price.
That's
Was
fair.
mugged off once with that game. I think being mugged off again.
On a gameplay
Yeah,
front,
yeah.
on a gameplay
front, the gameplay is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's a smoother experience from its predecessor. The combat is more fluid. There's a lot more from what I've heard from other people that you can do weapon-wise with the lightsaber. There's a few different stances, I think they're called.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, from what I played in the 2 sort of hour-ish, I think I played with the issues I had, because I did have to restart the game a few times to see if I could fix the issues I had.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. But no restarting fixed my issue. It was persistent. So that's pretty much what led me to get the refund, is because those issues were persistent. Yeah, gameplay would have been a lot better for me had the game's performance been up to snuff. So I have no doubts there, because what I did play when it was performing was really smooth. And just the performance brought that down a bit.
Yeah.
And story-wise, it's more Jedi, more of Jedi Fallen Order. So it's good. It's a lot of fun. I'm looking to jump back into this as soon as more of these issues are resolved. And I'm looking forward to getting back to the story, because I was really enjoying the story. There's some moments early, especially in that first boss battle, which sort of made me feel maybe Cal goes in a little bit of a dark side direction. Obviously, I can't speak on if that's true or not, because I haven't got further than 2 hours into the game.
Yeah.
So it looks like Cal is sort of torn between the dark side. Whether that is what happens, I don't know. But yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I'm looking forward to jumping back into this when I can.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a chance. I've played quite a bit of Jedi now. Obviously, I'm not going to do any story spoilers for Jen. In terms of performance, I've had a couple of little hiccups here and there, but nothing groundbreaking, nothing like too terrible. Like it's mainly the majority of the performance issues I've had on Jedi have been basic kind of stutters when loading into a new area. But once you've loaded into that new area, the stutter's gone immediately, and then it just performs smoothly. I'm playing it, as mentioned. I played Jedi on console in quality mode. Actually, I'm going to just switch back over to panel view quickly here. There we go. For a second, whilst I do something. There we go. See if I can do this without breaking OBS. See if it'll let me.
Good luck.
This is where it's all going to go down. It's all going to go downhill here. I remember.
You're talking to the man who has no faith in OBS
Oh
anymore.
God, I know. You're telling me. I hope this is the right one anyway. This could just be bloody Redfall all over again. I do. There we go. I think that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Right. God, let's hope that works. Right. And hey, now it's look at that. Now I have to bloody increase that. Whoop. Boom.
Professional
Right,
podcast.
sorted. There we go. Tremendous. So now you've got Jedi on there. In full screen, not in small screen. So yes, love it. The story is better than the first one already. The customization is a ton better. So much more customization. I mean, talking hairstyles, beards, your clothing items is multiple. You're not just wearing ponchos. Thank the God. You're not just
Don't
wearing...
disrespect the poncho. Don't do it.
The poncho's good, but in the first game, your choices were poncho, 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 a poncho, or the something that looked completely out of place. I can't remember now. I'm thinking.
I think
where
it's
it
called
are.
a poncho.
Oh, was it a poncho? Oh, right, yeah.
I see no problem with this.
A rubbish poncho.
Yeah.
I see no problem with this. There's no such thing as a rubbish poncho.
No. Sorry, Jen.
In Jedi,
Don't
there
get me
is.
wrong. Ponchos are good, but when your choices are like 10 different ponchos and nothing else,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, come on.
On top of the on
perfect.
top of the clothing customization, the lightsabers customizations increased again. So it's like multiple interchangeable parts. You've got tons of different blade styles. You can get tons of different materials for it, like rubber and different metals and wood and Jedi paint and resistance paint and Imperial paint. And there's just so much customizability around that as well, which is absolutely brilliant. Then we're talking about the combat. That's also more in depth than the first one. One of the things that we were concerned about was how they're going to balance the force abilities that you have with your character when you start the game. Because of course you finished the last one and you were like this kind of, you had your force abilities, you were able to kind of do left and right and pull and push and all this stuff. And thankfully you start the game with the basic abilities of the Jedi, the push, the force pulls, the force pushes and things like that, which is awesome. And as you progress, you rank those up and you gain new abilities, like sub-abilities within those. So greater pushing, greater pulling. You can kind of throw people about. You have kind of different slow motion effects and things like that you can do. So they've added a bunch more skills and force skills and blade skills and things that you can kind of rank up and increase. So that's tremendous as well. Really love that. And then to the biggest thing is this game is much bigger than I was anticipating. So much bigger than I was anticipating. This game is massive. It is
That first world
huge.
is pretty much most of the game, but it's so different in so many places.
Yeah.
It's so good, but yeah, wow, it's big.
Really big.
Wow.
Really big. Yeah, I didn't think it would be that big. I didn't think it would be as big as it was, and it is a really big game. So it's going to take us a lot longer than I anticipated. I thought, okay, it's going to be like a 25-hour game, maybe 30 hours at push. Nah, this is looking longer than that. It's definitely looking longer than 30 hours. It's looking like more close to 40 hours. It's going to be a big one. Thankfully, there isn't kind of achievements required for if you're an achievement hunter. There's none for difficulty levels. So you don't have to worry about that. I don't even think Redfall have done that either. Although Redfall, you motherfuckers, Redfall have put 17G achievements everywhere.
Yeah, you just sparked my memory.
17G
achievements.
Why?
I played
Redfall and its
Dead Island
achievements.
1. I played Dead Island 1 the other week, right? And I went back and played it, and I thought, oh, I haven't quite finished this game. And I went through it, and I got an odd achievement. And I was like, you mother... I was so unhappy. I went through 2 achievements trying to find another game to even the score out.
Yep.
I found one called it was IO or something like that. It's a little indie game thing, and it has 12-point achievements, and I got 1 achievement in it, and it evened my score out. I thought, good, I fixed that. That really annoyed me. And then I played Redfall, and I got a 17-point achievement the next day.
What the fuck? There's multiple achievements
And you
for
know
at
what?
least
You
a
know how many
17
they
gamer
are?
score.
They've got about 20. There's
Too
66
many.
achievements, and there's about 20 or 30 17G achievements. I was like, are you taking the piss?
That alone makes me not want to play it anymore.
Which devil come up with this? Which one? Which person in the studio thought, I'm gonna really wind them up here?
Why do they do that? Why? And why does it bother us that much? But it's so irritating. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was one of them. That knocked it
I
down.
knew exactly where you were going as soon as you said
a
that.
full point for me. That took it down to a 7.
Yeah. yeah. That's a whole point off. You
It's a
bastard.
whole point off just for an achievement in my book. Wow.
Oh, but yes. So whatever evil has made that decision, dear God, Mick, are you okay? You just turned on the sunbed.
Yeah, every time sometimes I'm just trying to do my rewards, and every time it loads up Internet Explorer, it starts up with a white page. It's like, oh.
You know, I'm looking at this gameplay of yours right now, and mine, even on when I did switch to the quality mode, looked nothing like this.
Really?
Nothing like this. It was all blurry. I swear, it's that motion blur. It wouldn't go off.
Yeah, this is quality mode on Series X for me. This is see what I mean when I
Even the
was
quality
telling
mode when I
people
switched to it, looked nothing like that.
when I was telling people that on my version there was nothing wrong. People are just like, "You're talking shit. You're talking shit. There's nothing like it's full of bugs." I'm like, "There isn't." It's like there's not.
One of the things that the thing I had was if you're going in and out of the cantina.
Yeah.
In that first world, if you walk in through the door, it stops you and holds you there, and that little thing looks at you. You know, the little eye that comes out like a Jabba's palace and stares at you, and you're like, "Are you gonna open the door?" And there's a little light flashing above the door. It's like, anytime today? Is this door locked? I'm sure I came in here before. And then you're like, "Oh yeah, it's open. You can go in now." Like, bloody hell! You might update your
hidden loading screen.
Yeah, wow! Just to get into the cantina, it doesn't seem to do it anywhere else. It's just into the canteen.
Could you imagine if you were starving to death or parched?
Yeah. Any time today. But yeah, overall,
Can you take my order, please? So when I get in, I can actually drink it.
I feel like, and this is kind of what I'll get to here is one of the final parts. The story is already kind of better than Jedi thought. To be honest, they've improved in all areas. They have improved in all areas for Jedi. When I've played more of it, it definitely stands a chance at being one of my up there with one of my games of the years when I'm kind of completed with it. I think it's definitely already en route to be considered for that. From what I've played so far, like I say, the combat's definitely a lot of fun. The characters are awesome. The storytelling's really good. The world's so much bigger, vibrant. You've got mounts and things like that. You've got the customizability is exactly where I wanted it. It's just a fun, great explorative game. So, I think when we come to the end of it, I think it stands a chance at kind of being in contention on my kind of game of the year list, to be honest, which is a good start. Definitely a good start. I feel for those who've had the issues because I don't discount any of them. I've seen them. I've seen the issues Jen's had. I've seen the issues because I was watching Jen's stream and I could see the issues he had outside the character, and I was like, it looks like you've got chromatic aberration switched on, and he's like, no, it's switched off. It's completely switched off. And I said, no, that's what it looks like. It looks like it's bugged out to the point where chromatic aberration is just on permanently, and you can tell mine's switched off if you have a look at my footage.
There is an issue as well when I turned the because you unlocked the clean shaven cow pretty early in the game.
Yeah.
And I switched it on, but you could like see this blurriness around Cal's face.
Yeah.
Like I guess the beard was like still there but invisible.
Yeah.
And you could just see like this fuzzy outline.
He's got shaving rash.
Yeah.
Well, it was more like ghosting around his face. There must have been some rash.
But you, but yeah, you can see, of course, in my footage, I didn't have that, so I've seen it. I've seen the issues around, and I've seen the problems people have had
around all the
performance,
characters'
etc.
faces. There was this blurriness around, not even the top half of their face. It was just like around their bottom half of their face. There was blurring, and I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I could see it. I could see it on your stream. I could see it when you were playing it. That there was definitely issues there. And I felt sorry for you because I know how excited you've been. You're more of a Star Wars fan than I am, and how excited you've been to try and to play this game since it was announced. And I thoroughly hope that these two patches that when they rolled out for console and you get to play it again, that it gets it to the experience that I'm having. Because I think if you wreck the experience that I'm having on it, you'd be in your element. So I hope it does get to that point for you.
Yeah, I was just really deflated after being like looking forward to this game for ages because I held out on Fallen Order for a while because you know how it was with EA and how Battlefront was, and it didn't live up to expectations. So I was just like, do I really want another EA game that is going to sort of soil my experience with Star Wars?
Yeah.
So I just held off, and then I got this because how much I bloody loved Fallen Order.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a point in chat there actually Revenator did say I think it did get a free pass on reviews with the issues that it had on launch. Absolutely. We should have brought that up really with the Redfall thing as well. And I do want to bring that up with regards to reviewers. I think reviewers who knew about it, because they did mention it in their reviews, were very lenient on the performance issues, specifically on PC and console, where they knew there was severe performance issues with it at launch, which is why it's been patched very, very quickly by them. And they completely overlooked those things and didn't kind of discount it. On Redfall's front, they didn't discount that at all, and they just went straight for the jugular and called it out on the performance issues. I think you need to be consistent across the board. If a game's got performance issues when you're reviewing it, if you're going to dock points, you have to dock points for every game that's got performance issues. You can't pick and choose. If there's a game that has a performance issue at launch and you're deciding to dock points for those performance issues, then whatever next game comes out with performance issues that you're reviewing, you have to do the same thing. You can't pick and choose. It needs to be across the board. It needs to be the same, regardless of how big that game is, whether it's Xbox, Sony, multiplat, PC only, Switch, whatever it is. You have to call it out. You have to. But
I think something needs to change with reviewers.
Yeah.
They need to review games as they are when they play them, not with the context that it might be changed in a patch at a later date.
Yeah, there's only one reviewer that I really stick by personally. For me, one reviewer, and that's because our thoughts usually align, and everybody's gonna have that one person that where their thoughts on something or their tastes in games usually align with each other. And me and ACG are pretty much on the same wavelength when it comes to games. Talk to ACG all the time, and he's critical, but he looks into everything as it should be. He doesn't dock points where it doesn't need to be. He gives constructive criticism for games. Is very well thought out in the way that he approaches these reviews. And I think all the guys here as well agree ACG is probably one of the ones that you look at and you can kind of trust. When he puts a review out, it's not numbered. It's buy, rent, wait for sale, or I think he's even got like Gamepass or something on there now, or service, or something like that. But yeah, it's
ACG or game ranks I usually tend to watch because they're pretty on the mark all the time over there.
Yeah, but everyone's gonna have their reviewer that usually aligns with their thought processes, and stick to those usually, because obviously if your thought process ends up being kind of similar to theirs when it comes to games, stick to watching their reviews, because usually you'll kind of align on those thoughts, and if that's how you want to kind of make a decision on getting a game or playing a game, then do so. I think the thing with people have got to remember with Xbox at the minute as well is that people are more inclined to try even games that have issues at launch because these Xbox games are launching into Game Pass. So as consumers, we've already paid for this subscription service. We're not paying any more to try this game out, so we're more inclined to go, right, okay, let's see if it's as bad as they say or whether or not I'm going to enjoy this game. And we can do that. For regular consumers that don't have subscription services, though, it's a much more difficult choice because games are $70 now or £70. You have to think carefully, and right now with finances, it's a much bigger decision on which games you want to buy and what games you don't want to buy. So find yourself, if you are going to go down the line of listening to a reviewer or a reviewer's thoughts, find yourself one that aligns with your thought processes. But I highly recommend ACG. The method in which he goes about reviewing games is brilliant. He details every segment of the game, from music to art style to the performance issues to the sound, And I don't mean like music sound. I mean like actual sound in the game, and whether or not this 3D audio or anything brings it any more to the game. It's actual gameplay, the fun factor, the traversal, the combat, whatever it is in the game. He'll review each segment as needed. So that's one I'd highly recommend anyway. And there's a few across the board that do awesome reviews, and I think Seasoned Gaming are very on point as well with the way they do it. Nanes and those guys do a great job on that front. But ACG is my go-to, and I highly recommend them. On Jedi's front though, Mick, you've played it as well. What's your thoughts?
Well, like you, I've had very few issues. Some frame rate dropping, but nothing major. Maybe a few texture problems just here and there. Nothing major. Just occasionally notice, bits and pieces that just don't quite load in quick enough. But it's been much better since this last patch. Certainly hasn't detracted from my enjoyment of the game. I love it. Yeah, it's like you say, the story is great.
Yeah.
I'm quite close to the end.
Oh.
And there's a few things that at the beginning of the game, not to ruin anything, but I kind of was like, not too sure about this. And then turns out I was right to think that. And then I'm at a boss fight, and it's hard. and I'm thinking about turning the difficulty down because I can't get past it at the moment. Well, that was I've had a day off from it today. I haven't had a chance to touch it today, so give it a rest. So I go back to it tomorrow and give it another try, and then see how I go. But if I do, I might. Like I said, there's no big thing about the difficulty on this one. No achievements for it, but I'm not that bothered anyway. Even if I didn't 1,000 point it, it doesn't really bother me. I want to complete it. I need to know what happens.
Yeah.
The only issues, like I said before, the only real ones is a few like loading on that canteen for some reason takes far too long.
Yeah.
I think it's just because the more as even if you've started the game at the beginning, you should know that like the canteen that's in the look at that. Now the Alexa's going off. Thank you for that. Yeah, you upgrade. That's like your base. That's like your home base, and you upgrade it, and it seems to get longer the more I update it.
Yeah.
The more people I get in it. So I think that's the issue. Hopefully that's something that can just be fixed in a future update.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the story's great. The story's so good.
So jealous.
The combat is great, especially when you unlock more of the stances later on.
Yeah.
The customization is fantastic.
I love, you know what I love as well in the customization? BD1's customization.
Yeah, I was going to say
I got to experience a bit of that before I refunded it, and it was really cool.
BD's good, and your lightsabers as well, and what I also like is that there's if you want to go for pristine and you want everything to look brand new,
Yes.
you can do. And then there's about 6 stages between that and absolutely hammered.
Yep.
Like chipped and smacked to hell. Like,
It's called ancient. It's called ancient.
Yeah, the ancient look or pristine. And there's about 5 or 6 stages in between there where there's a slider that makes it look anywhere in between. And you can do the same with DB as well as your lightsaber. Do the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep calling him DB. It's a Gears because it's a Gears thing that, and I'm just so used to saying DB. It's BD. I have to try and stop myself and correct myself. But yeah, like I said, the customization. I've got the commander stuff on.
Yes.
It's gone for like a Clone Wars General Kenobi look.
Right.
Is what I'm going for, which is just great. It's just so good. Yeah, there's some really nice upgrades to that canteen as well. Not going to say more than that, but it gets better and bigger as you go on. And the only thing that customization wise that I feel who I know is missing this time that was in the first one. And apparently you can do it, but you can only do it in the New Game Plus, is you can't modify the Mantis.
Oh.
The Mantis used to have a series of ship skins that you could change.
Yeah. But you can do that in New Game Plus.
You can't do that, and I had to look it up, and it says you can do it, but you've got to start a New Game Plus, and once you get to the first crafting table, then you can do it, but only in New Game Plus, not in the first run.
Okay.
So if anybody's wondering why it's not there, they can't find it, I looked it up. That's how you have to do it, unfortunately, which is a shame because I'm not particularly keen on the color of the ship. That's the default one.
Yeah.
It's a bit boring and not much to it.
Everything purple.
Everything purple. Lightsaber blade. Yeah, everything. BD, everything purple. You're right, Jeff.
That's what I did pretty much. As soon as I unlocked the colors, purple straight away.
There's so many,
quite nice
so many
as well.
colors.
Is from the start, you get the lightsaber crystals, and you can choose whichever one you want.
I hated that about the first one.
Yeah.
I hated that about the first one. Literally, I was like, I can't have a purple lightsaber right off the bat.
Nope,
not fair.
Yeah, no. So yeah, that's all open from the beginning on this one, which is great. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm looking forward to going back and finishing the story. And then I do think I'll probably go back and do all the other achievements on it. I did with the first one, but it's like any other game. You find yourself wanting to go around and try and collect as much stuff as you can while you're playing it.
Yeah.
But then you realize, oh, there's a big door there I can't get through.
Yeah.
Or oh, there's a thing up there that I don't know how to activate. Oh, there's another thing over there I have no idea what that is or how to get through it or how to get to it. And it's just like, eventually you sort of go, I'm just going to run through the story, get all the bits that I need, and then I'll come back and do it later.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And unlike Redfall, you can, you as far as I'm aware, you can get right to the end, and once you've finished, you can it's like the other Star Wars. You just sort of, I think your checkpoint is just before the end mission, and you just can go around and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to do everything before you progress to the next section, otherwise you can't do it. So yeah, it's pretty good like that. So yeah, it's great. I'm loving it. So I feel like
one thing I need to know though.
I feel sorry that for you, Jen, and other people that are struggling with it. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, hopefully next week it's at least marginally better than it is at this point. As much as there has been a patch, and it is better already. I'm just going to wait for a little bit longer because it can always be better.
Yeah, I would.
But yeah, most importantly, I need to know: is there a poncho in this game?
I don't know actually, because as soon as I found, because I pre-ordered the gold edition, it came with a bunch of there was a Rebel hero outfit, and then there was the smuggler outfit, and I think I went straight for the smuggler one to look like Han Solo.
I've got an outfit with a cape on at the moment.
There is one with a cape,
yeah,
but I don't know whether there's a poncho.
Yeah.
If there's no ponchos, it's not Game of the Year.
I'm not saying there isn't. Maybe somebody in the chat knows.
Yeah.
But
they should bring out a special DLC pack just for me where it's all ponchos and there's like 50 different ponchos in the DLC pack.
Oh, dear me. Dear me. But yeah, it's absolutely awesome. I'm looking forward to Jen getting to experience the rest of the game like we are, in a good state, because it is thoroughly enjoyable. I'm looking forward to playing more of it and getting into it and playing the story through. But unfortunately, Mick, I can't just rush through at the end. I have to find more customizations. I have to find the boxes. I have to explore. Yeah. I'm like an RPG, like an old school RPG player where I have to look around every nook and cranny.
I do to a point. I have to a point, but now I hit a point where I was just like, I'm so tired of finding, and you'll see, this is no spoiler, you'll see like these green force field doors.
Yep.
You'll see them dotted around the open world, and you have no way of getting through them. And it's obvious that you've got to get to a certain point in the game where it'll give you the ability to get past them one way or another. And I just got so bored of finding these doors that I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep playing because I'm just tired of not being. I can see the thing that I want. It's on the other side of that damn door. So I just
Marion just confirmed it. There are ponchos in the game.
there you go. So game of the year confirmed.
Game of the year when I finally play it.
Yeah, definitely. And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you see you haven't played Jedi yet? You waiting for a sale?
Yeah, I've not got it yet, so I have no idea. I've been trying to avoid it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Is that because it's big and you want to play it?
Because I want to play it, I just don't want to get caught up in spoilers and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I've just kind of kept my eye away from anything about it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It's
Well,
fair.
the good news is if you loved the first one, then absolutely when especially if you're waiting on it anyway, and it's gonna have a few patches before then. By the time you come to play it, it's everything the first game had and better. Story, combat, customization, traversal, everything's improved. Everything's better. Looks better. Plays better. Yeah, just awesome all around. I'm looking forward to playing more of it, and I'm glad outside of the performance issues that they've had at launch. I'm glad that EA have silently got back to making great single player games.
Yes.
Dead Space, phenomenal. The remake that they brought out, phenomenal. Well done. The Need for Speed, as much as it wasn't our cup of tea, it was, again, a lot of people enjoyed that compared to previous Need for Speeds. Then we've had Jedi, again, launching. There's been a couple of others as well, with their EA Originals. If you have a look at that new first-person shooter that they announced, that was a magic shooter. So you don't have guns, you've got magic. I've forgotten the name of it now. Immortals or something like that. Immortals of Avium or something that was announced the other week. That was EA Originals. That's another single player game. So EA are silently making a comeback on great single player experiences, and thank God they are, because they're doing a good job. They're doing a damn good job, and to me, the biggest bonus of this is what BioWare are going to be capable of going forward if they're focusing on single player stuff now and not service based games. If BioWare hit their track record again, as we know they have, they've got Dragon Age coming up again, which is people are looking forward to. We know that there's another Mass Effect in the works out there, so
hopefully they're good though, because they're not exactly the same BioWare as they were when that original
but
Mass Effect trilogy came out.
I kind of think
very few of the original BioWare though.
Yeah, but even the Mass Effect trilogy was brilliant. To be fair, the remake that they did, the remastered collection, that was really good, really well done. Exactly what it needed to be. It wasn't no fluff. It made it look, the entire thing looked really good, performed really good. So yeah, I'm glad EA are getting back into the good books. They're not releasing boatloads of games with microtransactions. They've stopped making loads of service games. Granted, they're still going to have the sports games, and we like that as well. But naturally, this is the type of games that we're looking forward to. These are the type of games that we love, and let's hope they continue, because I think they've noticed that they're getting more into people's favors and good books by releasing these games, and people are loving them and enjoying them, and they're selling well. Ultimately, that's the bottom line. These games are doing well. So yeah.
So that's the problem with how EA was. They don't seem to realize that. Yeah, it might be nice having all these multiplayer games that are live services, but how many people actually play all of the multiplayer games?
Yeah.
Typically, most people stick to one, maybe two, possibly three at a push multiplayer games. And then you've got the point of the multiplayer area of gaming is oversaturated. There's too many multiplayer games out there. How many of them die because most people don't care to play them?
Yeah.
because I'd rather go play something like Fortnite, which is constantly evolving, constantly getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen that Star Wars thing that's out for Fortnite now? I'm tempted to re-download Fortnite just because of that.
Just to get that.
And then that's going to fucking make me spend money on Fortnite, which I don't want to do.
Yeah.
I walked away from Fortnite because of all the Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff that was coming to the game. I was like, no, I can't keep doing this because I'll make myself bankrupt.
A quick shout out to Andrew Green for the £2 super chat. Loved the show. Thank you very much. The game of the year should be Diablo 4 this year. You know what it is? It's going to be hard to disagree on a number of people, and Diablo is definitely... If it hits it out the park with the rest of the content, and if the rest of the content in the game is as good as what I played in the beta, in terms of story, the combat, the action, all of the gameplay in itself, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to playing that in co-op with a bunch of friends. If it hits it out the park as well as it did in the beta, and better, and the end game is awesome, then it's absolutely in with a shout of being Game of the Year as well. Great year. So yeah, fingers crossed. I don't disagree with that one bit. Yeah, what a good.
Sorry, my
time.
dog's snoring again.
It's all right. It's all right. We've got Alexa and your dog. We'll just get them fighting off each other against each other.
I was about to say, me and
It wouldn't be a
Sean
midweek mix-up if you couldn't hear my dog snoring in the background.
I think at this rate, me and Sean will probably be joining him soon.
We're almost coming to the end of it anyway. I wanted to kind of bring out two smaller topics, and I want to get Shom's thoughts on one of them as well. Last Case of Benedict Fox, Shom. You have played that one. What's your thoughts on this awesome new little indie game that's out now for Xbox as well?
To be fair, I'm still making up my mind. I've only played about 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I'd like to probably put a couple more hours into it. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised with what I did play of it though.
Yeah.
What kind of... I genuinely, apart from seeing it was announced, I don't know anything about it. What kind of game is it, Sean?
It's a Lovecraftian Metroidvania. But it's a detective game. Now, a lot of people have pointed at being akin to like more of a point-and-click Metroidvania, because there's a lot of find this clue, go over here, find this, search for clues in the places. A bit like you would with a point-and-click, where you've got to find different things and solve puzzles and stuff. So it's more a point-and-click Metroidvania, which is a weird combination, but it's Lovecraftian in style. It's very interesting. It's definitely not something that you're going to complete like straight away. A few people have completed, of course. Indie Gamer's completed it. He loved it. The puzzles aren't straightforward. Puzzles are relatively, I wouldn't say difficult, but not easy either. The sound on that is awesome. The sound quality is brilliant. Though the combat and the traversal's a little bit floaty when you get into it, you will get used to it. But yeah, it's like a point-and-clicky Metroidvania.
Just looking at the trailer now, it looks quite interesting. I quite like the art design.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to shoot because I'm up at 5 o'clock tomorrow.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to quickly, when you go, if you let people know, of course, where they can find you, brother, and what you're going to be up to this week. Apart from work.
It will be pretty much working. I don't get my rota till tomorrow, but I'm working from today until Sunday, and it's probably going to be till about Wednesday, Thursday. Probably I'll be working again, so another 7 or 8 days, I reckon. But yeah, you can find me on Shomblon on Twitter and Xbox, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome stuff, brother. Awesome stuff. Well, you enjoy your sleep then, and I hope your next 7 days of shifts go well. And you manage to get yourself a little bit of downtime in between.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'll catch you in a bit.
Happy days. Catch you
Take
later.
it easy, Sean. See ya.
I'll just quick. Oh, there we go. I have to extend this over again. There we go. Boing. Yes, chaps. And then number 3. Now I need to change this over here because there's only 3
I
of
was going
us.
to say.
You've got a bar in the middle of your face. There we go. Much
Better.
last but not least, chaps, last but not least. Today, of course, we got the confirmation. This is a nice little topic. We got the confirmation from Xbox, of course, of what we already knew, which was that the Xbox and Starfield back-to-back showcase is airing on the 11th of June at 10 a.m. PT, which, of course, for us, I think is like 7 p.m. or something like that in the evening, maybe it's 8 p.m. And it's a 2-hour show. Now, obviously, that 2-hour show is the showcase followed by the Starfield showcase. What additional news they also give us, though, is that 2 days later, on the 13th, they have the Xbox Extended showcase again. That's one of the things that we enjoyed from last year, that it surprised us, because it gave us a lot more information, as well as a few hidden kind of announcements as well that we didn't know we were getting. We went into it thinking we were getting nothing, and come out of it thinking we're getting some additional stuff that we weren't aware of. So, yeah, I feel like this is definitely a turning point for Microsoft and Xbox. What they've stipulated in this blog post is that they've got some surprises, showcasing new games from first party and third party, as well as updates on games already announced, and from their partners that are working with them on creating new games, and of course discussing Starfield in depth, with new gameplay features and more to talk about on the game itself. So, yeah, do you think, first of all, Mick, do you think this is a turning point for Microsoft year, that they really have to knock it out of the park with these showcases?
I think it's got to be. Really, it has to be. We can't. Too many times we hear the wait for E3, you know, and I know this is not E3 as such, but it's still the same thing, just without the name.
Yeah.
And too many times we've not had. I don't want to say not what we've wanted. We've got a lot of stuff we have wanted, but the stuff that we've wanted hasn't always hit well. So, you know, this time it's got to be good. I think the like we said, the last showcase, and certainly the extended one as well, was really good.
Yeah.
You know,
It was funny because the extended showcase was better than the fucking first one they put on.
yeah,
The actual showcase.
yeah, and I'd agree. You know, and also it's the showcases are great, and they tell us what we're going to get. It's the follow-up bit after it of whether we actually get it.
Yeah.
So I think the showcase will be amazing. My hope is that they just don't do the whole 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, drop the 12-month thing.
Well, no, it's not
I don't think they can do that.
For me,
Not after
for
last
me,
year.
I think they could just, instead of just be slightly more vague, and either say aiming for the next 12 months. So you put that little word in there that can say, well, we did say we were aiming for it.
yeah.
So you could always go back to that, or they just go before the end of say 2024, and give yourself those extra few months on top, as well as 18 months rather than 12.
Yeah.
Just to give a bit of, we don't need another bunch of bad press about, oh look, that didn't come and that didn't hit on time, and it's because what a lot of these people don't realize is that most games didn't hit on time. We're still suffering the after effects of COVID. You know, these people that went through many changes, and it had an effect, whether people want to admit it or not. It had an effect on these teams, because a lot of them had to switch to either being completely online, or they stopped altogether and then came back when it started again. So I think the showcase itself, I've got no worries about. I think it's going to be great. My worry is the follow-up 12 months.
For me,
18 months.
Yeah, for me, I don't mind the 12 month if there's a segment at the end of the show that says, and here's a look to the future. If they say this is what
A
we've
look
got
beyond
coming
to
in
the
12
future
months.
is what we need.
Yeah.
If there's a little segment at the end where it's like 15, 20 minutes of, okay, and now a look to the future of things that are early in development, and then showcase a few of the things that are early in development. That they're not putting a time scale on, they're just saying, and this is what all like new projects that we're working on, or new things, as well as, okay, over the next 12 months, these are the games you can, or at least over the next year or so, like by the end of 2024, this is what you can expect to play. So I think instead of having to select, because the 12-month thing's not worked out for them already. They've said 12 month. They've put a little caveat and a little asterisk star on the bottom of it. But ideally, to avoid all of that, they should have said by the end of 2023, these are the games you can expect to play. If they go into this showcase and say by the end of 24, these are the games that are coming out, like by the end of 24, these are the games you can have played. That gives them a year and a half, not just 12 months, just a little bit extra. Why stick to that point? And then the next showcase you can do the same. Okay, over the next year, by the end of 25, you can do this, but then have a little segment at the end that's just okay. And here's a look at the future. I think that is the ideal scenario here. As opposed to sticking a 12-month where it takes you from June until June, which makes no sense anyway. Yes, you're going from showcase to showcase, but realistically, how many games are you getting out that you've only just announced within that 12-month window? You're not going to get out another 4 first-party titles within 12 months. With that 12-month window, ideally, you need a good year and a half, and that'll give you from June up until December. And the next June, anyway, you're talking about any additional games that you're bringing out from that June until the next December. And if any of them kind of move out of that, you're giving it a little bit of a buffer anyway. You're not saying it's definitely coming out within this.
Yeah,
but you're giving it.
I think they need more structure behind their showcases. Personally, I'd like to see them go and start with games that are coming within the next year to year and a half.
Yeah,
and then move into what the future holds. That's the best way to do it. Tell us what is coming within the next 12 to 16 months.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then go, this is what's coming to Game Pass in the very near future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push after that into showing me what's coming in the future. I like the CGI trailers. There's a lot of people out there that do like CGI trailers. They give me an idea of what to expect. They generate interest.
Yeah.
They generate more money going to those studios because of people talking about that game. What's this game about? This game looks like it could be something really interesting. Those CGI trailers are not typically, they're more for the shareholders to share an idea or showcase something that generates interest for the people, talking points. And then from there, that's typically where they get more funding for that game.
Yeah.
Because it's got talking points around it. But you can only do a CGI trailer once, in my opinion. After that, you've got to bring gameplay to the table.
Yeah, it's the Fable thing, you know. That first CGI trailer was great. I mean, it didn't really explain much what was going on, but it was enough to say Fable.
Yeah,
And
it
that's all we needed to know.
It let us know that Playground know exactly what Fable's about.
Yes. And then once you've had that, I agree with the Playground team that have been asked, can we show this? And they've said no, we don't want to do it yet.
Yeah.
I think that's great, because if it's not ready yet, we don't need another Redfall. So let them do what they want. As much as I want it, let them finish doing it. But the next thing that comes out for them needs to be gameplay.
Yeah.
It needs to be, here is the game.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like. This is what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So
Sin in chat says, heck no more CGI trailers. Instead, show concept artwork. The point there is most games can show you their CGI artwork, concept artwork, and the game can change drastically like that.
Yeah.
And that concept art has nothing to do with what we're seeing.
I've got a book up there from Sea of Thieves with a whole world of concept art in it. This game is now 5 years old, and 90% of what's in that book is not in this game.
Yeah.
So concept art is nice, but I would not want to see that in any realm of fantasy, because that just gives me no idea of what they're going to put in the game, because 90% of the time it doesn't come, or if it does, it comes way after. If it's a service game, it comes way after. And if it's not, it probably won't come at all. So concept art is not something that they should be putting on these things.
The best
I disagree
CG
with
trailer that I've seen at the recent events is still hands down, Outer Worlds 2.
Outworlds 2, yeah, definitely.
It mocks the
that was
fact that
great.
people are showing games off too early. It mocks the fact that it doesn't actually have a real name yet. It mocks the fact that
Yep.
they don't know what the game's gonna be yet. It's just like, yes,
Yep.
this could be a shooting game where you go this. It could be this fantasy game where you do this. There could be big monsters or not. There could be this or not. We don't know what the name's gonna be yet. We do, and it was just like, this is exactly how it should be. It's just playful, but it also lets you know that it's gonna be super creative. Like it was announcing Outer Worlds 2, and I loved that game. Thoroughly loved Outer Worlds. And the fact that I got to know
Sin
that...
followed that up by saying, I did also say have the devs talk about their vision.
Yeah.
So I think you can accomplish the same thing with doing a CGI trailer and getting the devs
Yeah, the
to talk
CG,
about
for
that.
me, a good CG trailer is just showing your vision as opposed to showing the game off. If for instance, and this is just theoretical, if they did an unbelievable CG trailer for Gears 6, it didn't kind of give an a release date or anything like that. It just went, it was just like, just this awesome, like the first CG trailer for Gears 1, for instance, with Mad World as the soundtrack. Like, imagine seeing that and then just Gears. Like Gears 6 or something like that. Is it just the announcement? You'd be like, okay, yeah, awesome. Right, I know Gears 6 is in development. Happy days. Really happy about that. That's the type of stuff like you can get you hyped because you know what you're expecting from Gears 6, for instance. But again,
I do get as well though that some certain types of games, when it comes to announcing them, CG trailers don't work because there's RTS games that do that CGI trailer stuff,
CG trailers are
and that
pointless.
becomes misleading. CGI
Pointless.
trailers really only typically work for something that's got a strong narrative,
like Avowed,
and it's a first person or a third person shooter type situation.
Yeah.
The RTS games, they typically, they drop the mark with that because you think it's something that it isn't. And most people go, oh, that looks really interesting. I can't wait to see more of that. And then when it comes to seeing more of that, it's a genre of game that they won't touch with a barge pole because a lot of people aren't into RTSs.
Yeah. But you have a look at Avowed's trailer, though. Like, Avowed's CG trailer is... People know what to expect from that studio, and they're thinking, if they're going at the Pillars of Eternity universe and doing it as more of a Skyrim type game where it's first person, and then they showed you that little glimpse of him putting his hand up and then the sword with the kind of magic. And I know now, having Jez has seen the game in play, and he said, no, that's actually more to what the gameplay looks like. Is this kind of fantasy?
And that's what I mean about CGI games. Like, you can give a better idea of what your game's going to look like in CG.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like CG where it's just a cutscene type of situation. I'm talking about CG that gives you the kind of idea of what style the game is going to look like. And you can't really do that with a RTS game.
Yeah, it's not going to showcase...
You can do it with a first-person game. You can do it with a third-person game.
Yeah.
But it's harder to do with strategy games.
But if you have a think as well, like the CG trailer for The Witcher 3. The CG trailer for The Witcher 3 was phenomenal. And even if you have a look at the CG trailer for the original CG trailer for Cyberpunk, and we're talking that was like a decade ago or more. It was maybe 15 years ago when Cyberpunk CG trailer originally came out. And you have a look at that, and the concept for that was like, oh, you're going to have all these kind of upgradable limbs, and you're going to have these mantis things, and you're going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And to be fair, it did kind of turn out like that. It was just to get a good idea as to what you can kind of expect from that game. Granted, Cyberpunk had its issues at launch, but ultimately it was one of my favourite games in terms of stories. And Worlds, it was one of my favourite games I played of the tail end of last gen. Phenomenal.
I don't agree with what you're saying there, Sin, because everyone wants to see what's coming next.
Yeah.
There might be a few people that are not interested and would rather wait for the game to be closer to launch, but there's a significant amount of people out there that would prefer to see something rather than nothing, even if it's CG.
I think a lot of people also say, look, one of the arguments against Xbox is, yes, I know that you've got these handful of games that you've announced coming, but
Yeah,
what else?
I know
What
where you're
else
going on
am I
this one.
buying the system for?
Yeah.
What have you got coming past that? What if the handful of games they've announced aren't particularly something they're interested in?
Yeah.
It's just like, what else am I
But
waiting
that's why I'm saying they
That's
need to
why-
structure shows better like that.
Yes.
They need to have a section towards the end, whether it be 30 to 20 minutes long,
Yeah.
showing me some CGI trailers that give a good, decent conceptual idea of what I'm looking at playing, whether that be 2 or 3 years in the future.
Yeah.
That's something that has always been done well throughout the industry. Sony have done it well. Nintendo have done it well.
think the problem
Xbox
you've
did it
got-
well back in the day.
The problem you've got is if you try to do gameplay or in-engine stuff too early, which is what we're talking about, is games that are announced way into the future. So we're talking about games that are, this is like early in development. This is an early CG kind of announcement trailer. If you showed me an in-engine trailer or some form of gameplay footage, then that's going to be held against you in conceptual stage when it comes to the next announcement. It is, and it has been. When we're talking about that, you look at Watch Dogs, what they originally showed off in gameplay and what was released.
Division.
The Division, what was originally showed off.
That's why I'm saying you can only do a CGI trailer once for a game. You do it a second time, then we're going to have issues because
I don't think
you're
any of
not
us are
showing me
asking-
anything.
I don't think any of us are asking for just constant CGI.
Yeah,
It's
definitely not.
Not what any of
And I
us want.
think-
We don't want that.
And I think as well, and this is a thing that Xbox have. Xbox and PlayStation are in two different situations here. Xbox have already got a pipeline of things that they've already announced that we've not seen anything of. So right now, our main focus is seeing the gameplay and more details on the stuff that was announced years ago in this showcase. Before we start seeing CGI of new projects that are all going to add to the pile, because there's like 40 projects in the works. We've only had one of them so far. So let's get more info on the ones that we've got before we get the future stuff. Although I would like to see a couple of little teasers for new stuff in the pipeline as well. But Sony have the opposite, where they've showed fuck all of what's coming up in the future. We have no idea what they're working on. And all we know is we've got Spider-Man and Factions.
Wolverine.
Spider-Man, Wolverine, Factions. There are 3 games. That's it, and 2 of them are Insomnia. So, there needs to be a fine balance. Sony haven't got a pipeline to talk about at the second that we know of, and they need to set that pipeline, I think, out a bit better for people who have invested in their ecosystem, so they go, okay, beyond Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Factions, what am I playing over the next 12 months after that? What am I playing in the next 24 months? What am I to look forward to? What's in the pipeline? And on Xbox's front, they need to first of all concentrate on showing off more of what they've already announced and add a sprinkling at the end, a sprinkling of a couple of little projects that they haven't announced. And I mean a sprinkling. They could, for instance, talk about the Kojima thing, if they've got something that they can show as a teaser trailer for that. They could show off a couple of other little things of little projects that we don't know about. But yeah, Xbox don't need to go full ham on like totally loads of different new projects. They just need a sprinkling of future stuff. Sony need to go full
Even if
ham
they
when they
like-
do a showcase. They need to go full ham on showcasing what it is that they've got coming up. Xbox specifically need to focus on showing us more of what's already been announced that we haven't.
And
No
that's what they need
gameplay
to
for.
focus on. That's the core of the show. Show us
Yeah.
what's coming within the next 12 and, a year and a half.
Yeah. I was wanting
And
to add
then
to that
show
as
me
well,
what's
actually,
coming in the
which
future.
reminded me in chat, Jen. Reminded me in chat. Before I get to that as well, actually, Lord Metroid with a $2 super chat again. Thank you very much, sir. He says, Tears of the Kingdom is Games of the Year. I guarantee it. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past you because Zelda,
Definitely
Nintendo
gonna be in the
games.
running.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them. But what did remind me, actually, is a new Gamepass trailer that came out very recently. Mick, you brought it to the attention of me. The only game that was in that trailer that isn't already out or is already not coming out or hasn't already been announced as coming out this year, but has been showed in that new Game Pass trailer, is Hellblade 2.
It is indeed. Yeah.
Not
it's,
Fable.
Hopefully that is
there.
coming this year.
Yep.
It's
Not
there
Fable's
in
not
the
been
Game
included
Pass.
in that. You haven't seen
It's in
Avowed
the-
in that. Nothing.
Nope.
None of these other games have been announced in it. But in this Game Pass trailer, Hellblade shows up. Now, why would they show Hellblade
Hopefully
in
that's a
brand new
hint to
Game
see
Pass
what,
trailer?
we're going to see something significant at the showcase for Hellblade, and it needs to be significant this time. They can't come at us with this small little piece of gameplay footage. We need at least 5 to 8 minutes of gameplay of that game.
Yeah.
Show us, have a blowout with
combat gameplay
Hellblade.
for me. I want to see combat gameplay and a little bit of extra. See what else the game's about. Because I know they've changed the direction of it a little bit. It's not focused primarily on puzzles now. It's more of an action adventure game. It still has
Good.
its puzzles and its kind of psychotropic moments, but I know the direction's changed a little bit on it for the better.
Hopefully it's coming out this year.
I saw that, and the first thing I thought was, I need to get this to Dutch right now.
Yeah. But what have I been saying though for so long? I've been saying this since last year. I said I guarantee it's going to be a winter 2023 release. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
At this point they've showed off far
Hopefully.
too much. They've talked about it a lot. And they've got to the stage now where they're just constantly teasing on Twitter every other week, like, here's some of our mocap work, here's some of this stuff, we're finished up. Like months and months ago, beginning of the year, they said, oh, we finished mocap. Like, mocap work is done. It's finished. So we know they've finished the mocap stuff, and the mocap is the main meat and potato of the game, to be honest. Once you finish the mocap stuff, the rest of it is pretty much plain sailing from there. They just need to add all the textures and things to the characters and go on from there. That we then seen at the the GDC, we saw the work that they did and easily putting the character kind of facial expressions on using a mobile phone, and it did it live on stage. And it took them like 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, boop, there we go. There's your animation done. 2 minutes. I'm like, holy shit.
Revenator in the chat says, "What about Fable?" I don't
We're gonna
think
see
any of us were
gameplay.
expecting. Yeah, I think we'll see something at the show.
Yep.
I don't think any of us were expecting the game to come this year.
No, game won't come
yeah.
out
Just
this
don't
year.
show us
but we
another
will see
bloody
it.
CG trailer.
Yeah.
Nope, like we said before, no, we've had a CG trailer.
The good
That's it now.
good
We
news
want
is
gameplay.
the good news is we know from Playground and we know from the heads of Xbox that they've seen Fable. They were trying to press Playground to show the game off because they thought it was in a state to show off, and Playground pushed back and said not yet. And this was the tail end of last year. So I believe now they are definitely in a position to showcase Fable this year. So I fully believe you'll see Fable at this showcase. Yes, it's not coming out this year, but you'll definitely see it. And I think
I'm going
Fable
to say
will be one of the
something
big
wild
games from this
here,
year.
and it's not something I'd necessarily believe. But what if they shadow drop something like Fable?
No,
No, I don't think so.
no. If anything,
If it was ready to show off, sometime last year,
I think.
what's to say it isn't?
Nah, I think the
I mean,
shadow.
if the closest thing you're going to get, I think, with that would be a Fallout.
Or even if they
4
showcased, not shadow dropped a demo or something.
a Fallout 4 style thing where they went, "Here's the game, it's out in 3 months." That's about as good as you're going to get. But even that, I don't think that'll happen.
I think we
I
will
think
get the
we're gonna
shadow.
see
I
it.
think we are more likely getting a shadow drop for Forza Motorsport, which will be one of the surprises.
I don't think it'll be a shadow drop. I think that's out in October, like most of the Forza Motorsports have been previously. I think we'll see it. We'll see it at the showcase,
Yeah,
and then it'll just get a release date of October.
but I think there will be something that's dropping close. And by shadow drop, I don't necessarily mean day one, because the shadow drop that we had last time round was the Sea of Thieves, Pirates of the Caribbean, and that dropped within 2 weeks or a week. They were like, "Oh yeah, it's out next week. Free update, Pirates of the Caribbean expansion for Sea of Thieves." And we're like, "Holy shit, that is big." That that caught War by surprise, and that was a week later. Casual Kate in the chat asks, "Where is Perfect Dark?" coming
That's a
around.
way off, that
It is coming on nicely, but and a big but. There was a lot of changes in that studio, and Crystal Dynamics are heavily involved in making sure that game comes out in its best quality. Be rest assured when the game comes out with Crystal Dynamics on the case that quality-wise, visuals, it's going to look phenomenal. There's a good chance you might see it this showcase. To be honest, there is a very good chance. It's in development long enough now. I think Crystal D are a really good studio to get that game and where it needs to be. So there's a very good chance Fable and Perfect Dog will be shown. Avowed, I think, will be shown. Games that definitely won't be shown. Indiana Jones, I don't think will be. Although it could be.
No, I don't think either.
It could be with the film coming up, because the film's coming up soon, so they might have something just to tease it. But I don't think it's going to be anywhere near ready to release. But I think they could have something to tease it. The other one with Avalanche.
They could show something for Indiana Jones, but I don't expect them to.
Yeah. Ooh. £5 super chat from Berserker. This Jaden in the chat there. Welcome, Jade. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, brother. He said Fable, Everwild, Avowed, State of Decay 3, Hellblade 2, Project Mara, Contraband. That's the one I was thinking of. Perfect Dark. No new teasers, as little CGI as possible. None. I agree on the little teasers. I think a couple won't do any harm. It's like 3, 4 maybe at most. But out of that list that you've given us there, Fable, absolutely. Everwild, no. I still think probably next year when you see that. Avowed, yes. State of Decay 3, possibly, but don't hold your breath. Hellblade, absolutely. I think that's dropping this December, or at least this fall. Project Mara, no. They're concentrating on Hellblade 2. I think Project Mara you'll see next year, if not the year after. That's a much smaller team working on Project Mara. We're talking like 10, 20 heads, and it's a completely different thing. That's like conceptual. Contraband is the one that I think you probably will see as well, because that's with a third party. And they did mention with our partners who are helping us create games. So I think the partners, that being Avalanche, who are helping them make Contraband, with the Game Studios publishing, like Xbox Game Studios publishing, I think, you'll probably see Contraband as well. But yeah, I don't think any of the kind of further out things you'll kind of see at the minute. You're definitely not going to get anything. You could see maybe a new Wolfenstein. Do we see Quake's announcement? I don't know.
I think it's probably a little bit too early for Quake's announcement. And we've still got QuakeCon this year, right? So maybe they leave it for that.
We have QuakeCon and BlizzCon this year as well. There's loads of games coming out on them fronts. Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think there is going to be a lot of awesome stuff showing off. I don't know whether or not you'll see more of Stalker 2 as yet. You might. It depends on how the Stalker team are feeling. If the Stalker team by June are feeling confident on a release date, you might get the new official release date from the Stalker team. I think they're very confident of getting it out this year. So you could get that. Casual K, I've just mentioned that. id Tech, I think id Tech could. I don't know whether or not they do Doom or whether or not it's Quake that'll come out first, but it could be the Quake reboot, which we know is in the works. But I think it's more than likely, probably Wolfenstein. That's the first out of the lot of them that comes out. I think that's definite there. Gears is a way out. Way out. You're not going to hear about Gears for a while.
If we see anything to do with Gears, it'll be a CG trailer.
Yeah.
If we see anything from Gears, I think it'd even be less. I think it might even just be like a splash screen.
Yeah.
Just a Gears 6. And that's it. I don't think you'll see even the CGI trailer for it.
Yeah.
Just a confirmation that they're working on it, and that way they can start hiring people if they need to, without having to hide what they're doing. So which we've seen in the past with several games.
Yeah. And I said, yeah, and then Revenator, Indiana Jones, I don't think you're going to get a lot on that game this year. You might get a little snippet of it, or at least an idea of what the game's about, but I don't think you'll get gameplay this year. And Jade,
Berserker said, if it's
Jaden,
Judgment 2, I'm leaving
if it's
Xbox.
Judgment 2, you are buying it day one and you know it. Don't you lie to yourself.
Yeah,
It's going to be Gears
Yeah.
Judgment 2 with a limited edition Xbox Series X. And you're going to like it.
Yeah, he's going to buy it day one. He's going to have it plastered all over his walls. He's going to get dressed up as the Judgment 2 characters. It's going to be his phone wallpaper and everything. Yeah, Revenator, I know the movie's due out very soon. And you would think they would tie it in with the release of that. And I think Disney would have loved that as well. But you can't, like, and this is when it comes to, movie executives and game developers, they both movie developers can get a movie cranked out in a year. They can go full ham on making a movie, get it edited and released within a year. Film games aren't like that, and I think sometimes movie makers, or at least movie execs who expect their IPs to be turned into games within a year, are kind of sadly mistaken, because it takes far longer than that to crank these things out. It's not as simple as movie production. You've got a kind of a working team of like a couple of 100 people trying to kind of do moving parts on a digital thing that you control, not that's recorded on a camera. It's an entirely different scope, and I think sometimes they're kind of just not in sync with each other. And we saw that a couple of times, to be honest, with certain games releasing things or trying to release things in time with films, and that it's ended up being at the detriment of the game that's released, as opposed to like The Last of Us Part 1 remake that released on PC. That was originally meant to release with the same time as the show. It was delayed 2 weeks, and even then it was too early. And we saw what happened when it released on PC. It was an absolute mess.
Often the game-
Revenator, don't do that to me. You can't do that to me.
I saw that. I wondered if you were going to comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be happy if they did that. I know the
I'd be happy. I'd be happy if they did that. But it also wasn't 343 Industries.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think what we'll see, I hope we don't see anything from Halo, but I don't think we'll see anything from 343 anytime soon. What I do think you might see is, and I've forgotten the name of the studio that's making it, the studio that's working with them. Jen, you might know.
Damn, my mind's gone blank. It's the one that's supposed to be working on their Battle Royale for
Yes.
Halo, right?
Yes, there's a good possibility you'll probably see that.
Is it Creative Assembly?
No, not Creative Assembly.
Um,
I know, I've got a mind blank as well.
Yeah, I can't think of the name, but yes, that team. I think you probably see that team and what they're working
Certain
on.
Affinity.
Infinity, that's the
That's the
one.
one. Certain
Yeah.
Affinity. I think you'll see Certain Affinity, what they're working on within the Halo universe and what their project is, but I do not see anything from 343 for a long while. I think if you see anything to do with stuff that they've got, it's probably in the extended showcase. I'm talking about DLCs and updates and shit.
Probably
like
like season,
Probably a new season.
whatever the hell season they're on now.
Yeah.
They're probably still on like season 1, right?
that.
That's a joke. It's probably like season 4. Is it season 4?
1.5.
God knows.
I think they're on season 4 at least, so it's coming up to season 4. So maybe they'll have a blowout of what's content-wise in the extended showcase.
Yeah. So I think,
Rare as well. We're going to see Rare there, definitely.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to see what they're working on for Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
What do you know, Mick?
Is it not saying anything?
No comment.
Good comment. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on swiftly. But yeah, overall, I think this is going to be one of the biggest showcases Xbox have to have. Not only for this generation, but I think just in general. I think there's a lot that they need to do. I think what they've released so far this generation has been lackluster. and what comes next absolutely matters, and they need to knock it out of the park. They absolutely need to knock it out of the park now, because they're on with a lot of fans, not particularly us. We've got long fuses, but with a lot of fans, they're on last chance saloon now. And it sounds fickle to say that, but it's people that have invested money into the ecosystem or have spent money on a system, and there's nothing really there that is coming out, and what is coming out isn't up to scratch. It's not performing well. It's below par. It's put
Gamepass can only tire people over for so long.
exactly.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm a lover of indie games, so I'm catered for full well. But there's a large segment of players that signed up to get the Xbox and play the Xbox based on their AAA output and on the promise of big AAA first party games coming into Game Pass. So they need to knock it out of the park. And this show is going to be one of the biggest that they have in terms of its importance of the generation. So absolutely they need to really smash it. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up today's show, gents. It's been an absolute blast. Let's get to our outros. Mick, let people know where they can find you, brother, and what you've got coming up.
I'm not anywhere. I'm hiding. I give up. OBS has beaten me. I'm out of it. No, I'm obviously on Twitter, Xbox Mick29.
Yeah.
Just Mick29 on Xbox if anybody wants to add me there. And yeah, I am trying desperately to get OBS back up and running. I think I may have found a lead as to what the problem is.
Yay.
Unfortunately, the person who left the comment of how to fix it in the forums of OBS hasn't replied to me of how they fixed it.
Right.
They kind of left a vague thing, and I'm like, that's great. Please tell me how you did that. Give me some instructions, but they've not replied. And knowing forums, they probably won't reply because they won't check the messages until they need OBS forums again in 12 months' time. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to keep searching. Just quickly, by the way, somebody there, Revenator mentioned the Asus Ally
Yes, the ROG Ally.
handheld, and
That's looking
we
promising,
were
that, mind.
talking. That is a promising device, and I've realized that because it's a Windows 11 partnered
It
device,
runs everything natively.
it's going to be in the Microsoft store, almost certainly.
Yep.
And I've got nearly 600 quid's worth of Microsoft points.
Ooh.
Oh, I know what I'm buying.
You're going to save that for the special Starfield console that might be happening.
Screw the Starfield console. If I can get one of them for next to nothing, just pay the extra, I'm having one of them.
Yep. The Z1 Extreme for $699 is phenomenal, by the way. That is a powerful, powerful machine. And it runs the games natively. It's not a cloud device. This is install. Nope. And it's like it's doubly as powerful as the Steam Deck.
Yep.
Yeah. That is really enticing me as well. That looks really promising.
That is now what I've got my eye on for my reward points.
Really promising device.
Almost 610,000 now.
Yeah. You jamming
it.
About
550-ish or something like that.
11,000 points. I can get a £10 gift card.
Whoop, whoop. So yeah, back to the outros. Yeah, that's pretty much me. Just the usual places. So yeah.
Awesome stuff. And Jen, where can people find you, brother? And when are you going to be streaming next?
Back to streaming on tomorrow probably. Yeah, tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. No, I'll probably stream a bit of Daisy. I'm not entirely sure. I've got my PlayStation set up in here now, so I might even play something on that. Undecided at the moment, but I will be streaming tomorrow.
Nice. Awesome stuff.
And you can find me on Twitch. The @name just below my main name there at the General C. That's pretty much me everywhere.
Awesome sauce. Sweet. And of course, for everybody in chat, I am the Wandering Dutch, of course, the host of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. And you can find me everywhere under the same name, Wandering Dutch. Every Wednesday evening, of course, on the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. Every second Sunday with the General C as my co-host on the Weekend Edition. Usually every Tuesday, although the last couple of weeks has been a bit mad for Save Tuesdays with the Redfall stuff and having to make sure we kind of cover that properly, and
OBS not working.
OBS being cocking up. But Save Tuesdays will come back shortly, hopefully, and we'll get on top of that again. So that'll be every Tuesday. And of course, every Thursday with Boxing Burger for the World of Gaming. So that's tomorrow. And on Primetime Gaming on Wednesday evenings with Boomstick and crew. But thank you to everybody who joined us this evening. All new subscribers, new channel members. All the super chats that come in, all the support is absolutely phenomenal. That literally goes to kind of help us run the show and improve it. So every bit of kind of support that comes into us financially goes towards just improving the show to make it better for you guys and make it more enjoyable. So fully appreciate that. And of course, on the way out, if you haven't already, go on.
Just one more thing before we go. Can I just give you a big round of applause for that showcase, by the way? The indie showcase.
Thank you, Mick.
Well put together, mate. It was a fantastic job.
If anyone in chat hasn't seen that yet, click Wandering Dutch's channel name and check that out as soon as possible.
Yeah, go and do that, guys, because it's fantastic. And I believe there's another one coming as well.
Yes,
Dutch.
23rd of September. 23rd of September.
There you
go. Yeah, for those, of course, on the main show, because we mentioned it on the weekend edition. For those of you still tuning in, we've already got 4 awesome content creators lined up for the next indie showcase. So we have ACG, we have Lord Cognito, we have Miles Dompierre from IGN/Windows Central, and we have Mr. Badbit, Joe from PS Trophy Room. So 4 awesome content creators already lined up, as well as several others in the works and some special guests, which shall not be named. But those are usually I wouldn't say last minute, but last couple of week clarifications. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the works. If you haven't seen the showcase, go and look at it. Indie games are vast in size. Some of them are small one-man teams and pixel art, and others you would think with big AAA budgets with millions of pounds to spend. Some of them look absolutely insane, just as. So there's a lot to look forward to, of course. Shout out to Aaron Greenberg, who joined us for the first showcase, and all of the awesome content creators that we had along there as well. Boxing Burger, Boomstick, Kia Sante, and Everborn Saga, who showed off his new game. Unveiled it as well for the first time, so shout out to Everborn for the unveiling on that, and of course to Pong and Steel as well, who showed up, so much appreciated. And of course Duncan from Complete Xbox, who did his usual comedy gold. But thank you again, chaps. Thank you, Mick, as well, for the praise for that. Much appreciated. Hope everybody in chat has an awesome evening. Before you go, please, when you're jumping out, hit the like button, as Saint Reborn said in the chat there. Hit the like button, share it out, and if you don't already, please subscribe. Takes 2 seconds, and it's free of charge. But thank you once more. Hope to see you all soon. Have an awesome evening, and see you all again next time. Goodbye.
Ice and flames, oh my name. I freeze, I burn, I blame. I love, I hate the same. On my face, I cannot hide from the mistake my parents made. I'm never moving on. Not made from love, a remnant of a selfish motive. Was I needed? Do I need it to go wrong? Polarized in hair and pain, pumping through my veins. I think it wrong for me to fight against the balance of my power? History in halves, one brain. I will break the chain. Oh no, tokori wa yobu. Moeru rame koru to boku no ai to kirai ni iru. Oh no, tokori wa yobu. Moeru rame koru to boku no ai to kirai ni iru.